Hello, and welcome to the first of hopefully a bunch of these in a series that I don't have a name for yet. My name is Anthony, Violence Vanella. I am here on the Best in Tabletop Network. You will know me from Fight Club, is the main source, but I've been bouncing around the network for a little while. I've been on some different things. I very recently won a GT, woo, with Light
Yes, you did.
Harlequins, which is the part that's frowned upon. But I did went super well, and Mike here, who will introduce himself in a second, was there as well, and he went 4-1, did super well also. Got taken down by the big bad dinosaurs that is Crusher, but learned some things from it and knows what to do in the future. So we got that going for us, which is good. So yeah, you guys know me. I'm gonna let Mike introduce himself, and yeah, take it away, Mike.
Hi, guys. So my name's Mike Butler, member of Team Art Award, the ITC team. Playing the game roughly 22 years or so, just on and off. Getting back into competitive 40K because it's starting back up, which is good. Our area is kind of dry with the whole coronavirus and everything. So getting back into it, getting my feet wet again. Brought some Harlequins to the event. Looking forward to talking about it. Love everything Eldari. Been playing them for pretty much my entire 40K tenure, so excited.
Yeah, you're all parts of the Eldari spectrum, right? You played Drukhari,
Yeah,
you played Craft
played
World, you played
Drukhari, played
Harlequins.
Craft Worlds, Harlequins. I have some models that are older than some of the people I play at events now, which is weird.
They
Like
might
I have
be almost as old as me. I'm only 28. It could be pretty close.
they might be. I have like the pewter avatar, the little guy.
Oh, the really tiny one.
hmm Yeah, he
Sean had a
wasn't new.
model.
I bought him
Yeah,
from eBay, so he's not the. I didn't personally play when he was the thing, but like,
right.
yeah,
Sean
I
had a
just
model that he painted when I was like 3 years old or something like that. The first
oh
time we played.
Jesus,
Yeah, he like beat me down with it and was like, "Look at
yeah,
this. It's as old as you." I'm like, "Oh."
yeah. He's been playing forever too, right? If
Yeah,
I'm not
Sean's
mistaken.
deep in the play.
Yeah, and
long
he's
long
another
time.
Eldar lifer, so good stuff.
Oh yeah. That's all the like people that I know that have been playing for like super long, at least have a little bit of Eldar, and then there's like the fanatics that only play Eldar, and
Yeah.
they have everything from like all the armies from all the time.
Well, we absorb all the hatred. Like everyone's traditionally hated Eldar over the
That's
course of
true.
40K. So
That's
we just
true.
were like, you know what? Whatever. You hate us, we're gonna keep playing Eldar. Like it takes
That's
a
true.
special person. Just roll with the punches. People are gonna hate everything you do from third edition to now. It is what it is. Like
Yeah.
Hollow
I
Fields,
I definitely
Yannari, the list goes on.
yeah. I learned that the hard way when I picked up Drukhari. I was, a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Blood Angels player. I was like, "Oh, let's try this new army." And then the first 3 events in a row that I played, someone called me scum like to my face, and I was like, "Oh, this is what this is like. Okay,
Yeah,
all right."
that's a real mature way to approach a tabletop game, like,
Yes.
you're at a
Yeah.
tournament, you're expecting people to go and be competitive, right? Like, someone's gonna bring a good army to a tournament, you're paying a lot of money, you're traveling, you're staying at a hotel, there's prize
Right.
support, it's a competitive event. I understand a lot of people like to go just for the friendship aspect, and I do too,
Yeah.
but you're at a tournament. You should be expecting that type of caliber of list and play. I was saying, like, if that doesn't like gel with them, maybe the narrative is more their style, you know?
Yeah, for sure. There's a bunch of ways to play this game for a reason.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, let's jump right in. Talk to me about your first game. So you had never been to Mythicos before, or had you been there
No,
before?
I've never been there before. So we went to the Mythica store in Mawa. Mawa.
Mawa, yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not a North Jersey person. Based around Philadelphia area, so it's a little bit of a hike, but great
Yep.
store. I just want to throw it out there. Like if you're in that area or you're looking to do an event and maybe it's only a couple hours away or something, if they're going to do a 2 day event or you're close, if you want to go to an RTT that they're holding there, this event was phenomenally ran. Great people there, great competitive players at the store, great terrain. All in all, I could not say higher praises of the store. So it's my first time there. I was looking through like the roster of the tournament, which is always just a good thing to do, when you're going to an event, see who else is playing, and like just looking at it, it's like, man, now this guy's Team America, this guy was Team America, this guy's,
Yep.
like like top 10 ITC players. It's just like I was like, man, this is like a Shark Tank of a tournament. It's like a two
For
day,
sure.
40-man tournament, and it's like some of these games are like top table at an event, like with some of the players. So it was cool. Um, I had a great time. I brought Light Harlequins, a little bit of a different list than you. I made a more play on the conventional, like 8 plus voids. I ran 8. Ultimately, I think that's kind of a trap on GW terrain. I wanted to try it out, see what all the hype was about and everything.
Yep.
On those tables, it is so difficult to draw a line of sight with all your voids in a single turn, unless someone's very aggressive.
Right.
Um, for those not familiar,
Yeah, it's very easy to just hide on the GW terrain when you're playing that many voids.
oh my god, it's like a cat and mouse game. It's totally different 40K than if you're playing somewhere else or in WTC style or ITC style with the player plays. I find it's a lot easier to advance and shoot, and then you have all the angles because a lot of their terrain's like an L. So it's very easy just to get into a corner and you can shoot into the whole terrain feature. The GW pieces, for anyone not familiar, it's a lot of U-shaped terrain. So realistically speaking, it's like a 12 by 12 square and it's only exposed in the back and maybe one little other side of the corner. So pretty much you have to get behind it to shoot. And it's hard to fit 9 voids behind a piece of terrain. Real talk. It just is. So
It's super
ultimately,
hard.
it's very difficult. So ultimately, on that terrain type, I know people are going to be like, "Oh, why wouldn't you take 9 voids?" It's a mistake, in my
Yeah,
opinion. Maybe,
I agree.
maybe I'm wrong, but
I mean, you can see it from the event. I took 6 to that one. I'll be taking 6 to the tournament I go to this weekend. That's like an 80-person major. And
right,
even with like, slightly different terrain, it's not GW, it is player placed. I still think 6 is better. It gives me a lot more damage in melee, which
yeah,
helps a ton in the mirror.
yeah, it does. I think 6 is very all your eggs in one basket kind of list. Like it's either going to blow you out, or you run into something like a counter, which I'll talk about a little later when I play TJ's list.
Oh yeah.
Because he designed that list to beat 9 void lists, and you know what? It's good at it.
It
Real
is. It's
talk.
great
I
at it.
mean, there are ways I could have played a little better to mitigate that, and then it would have been a close game, or maybe I pull ahead. But
Right.
without knowing the matchup the same way he did, because he was prepping
Yeah, he had
specifically for me, not
yeah, he
me,
had
but like the
practice with
list.
me.
Yeah, with you, right? So he just had such a better grasp of what to do than I did, who was going in dark.
Yeah.
But to go over the tournament, so like we started. I guess I can go over my list first. I'll pull it up real quick.
Yeah, we can just do like a quick run through.
Yeah. So it's a mono light battalion, just like everyone else was doing. Like I said, I wanted to jump on the train,
Yep.
see what the hype was about. My initial thoughts was I wanted to run Twilight because I like all the movement jank. It's very catered to my play style, but
Yes.
went with the popular ebb and flow. So I ran the typical troop master with player of light that gives him the strength and attack, super good. But to the future for the extra move, I did not give mine the Queen of Shards upgrade. Throughout the tournament, I know. Hold on. It really didn't make a huge difference, honestly. I know there's some niche matchups where it's like, okay, you play against Eldar or Harlequin Mirror, and it does matter in those particular games because it's nice to be able to charge a tank, and if you roll well, you can ignore those involves, right? But I was just banking on like the larger. I wanted to fit more stuff in, so I tried to do it for a
That's
very
fair.
minimalistic approach with my units and everything to fit more units in. So like 20 points here, 5 points here, that stuff all adds up. Um, Then I ran a Shadow Seer with the Shadow Stone, Mirror Architect. Everyone pretty much should know what that is at this point, as the counts as an additional 6 inches away. It makes your stuff very durable, keeps you back. The best way to stay alive is not to be shot at all. So, like weapons like a D cannon, which are normally pretty threatening, even with luck at the laughing god, you fail a save, it's a dead boat probably, unless he rolls subpar.
Yeah.
Now, 18 inches, that's easy to avoid.
Well, they've great yeah, they have all these CP that they can put into that as well. So,
Right.
like, you're looking at a dead boat.
Yeah, pretty much you're looking at a dead boat. So like the range keeps you alive. You got that's an auto include upgrade if you're playing Harlequins. You just cannot
Yep,
not have that in your list unless you're doing like a traveling players. I took the Chef Jester that everyone loves with favor. That dude's just money.
that's so good.
Solitaire, I did not give him the upgrade. A lot of people give him the Prince of Sins upgrade. I kept mine bare bones. Like I said, now you see I cut it on 2 upgrades. I have an extra 40 something points. That's up.
Yep.
So plus, I find ultimately once you commit him, he's dead. He usually just dies a horrible death somehow.
I've never had that guy survive. I've since taken Prince
No,
of Sins
it
out
does
of
not
my list
matter.
because he just
You
dies.
you go like, oh, you can't reroll. He's like, all right, cool, smite, and you're like, oh,
Oh, damn it. Yeah.
okay, he's dead. All right, cool, good talk, man. You know, so the solitaire's cool, and then going through, I took 5 units of 5 troops with 2 fusion, and then a kiss and a caress. This unlocks both stratagems, so I can do the mortal wounds on sixes if I need a little combat punch, or I can
Yep.
ignore invuls in the mirror, and the fusions are just good. I think there's a high utility. It
Yeah,
fills
the
a gap
fusions
in
are
your list. Right. So it's
yep.
just all around solid. They can advance and shoot it. 5 boats for 5 rides. I took a 5-man naked unit, which I actually thought was a good tech choice. I love that unit. A lot of
I love that
people
unit
a lot of
dearly.
a lot of people don't take it. They just take the you need that extra unit for actions, and I was glad I had it in pretty much every game. And then I take 2 units of 3
Mhm.
voids and then a unit of 2 voids.
Right,
Ultimately, I think I would cut it down to either 7 or 6 voids ultimately, and just
right,
probably add another melee character or something of that nature.
right.
Maybe a two-man bike unit, 'cause I like them a lot. And,
Yeah, you were saying before the event that you were a big fan of the Bola bikes
I
specifically, right?
am actually a big fan of the Bola bikes, but I didn't play them. They're just great in all your secondary options. Like if you have a 3-man unit, they can get engaged on all fronts if you want to take it. They're a good unit to throw on an objective because it takes a little bit more to kill them as opposed to 5 troops or something like that. They're great for deadly performance. You can advance up, shoot the bolas, advance, boom, fire and fade. You're in the deployment zone turn one. 29
Yep,
inches. Most deployments are 18 or 24,
right,
so like math says you're air. And then they're exponentially harder to kill than people give them credit for. Like you actually have to commit a lot to kill them because 2 of them is roughly about as durable as a boat. And like people see like the boats don't die that much if like they're in the buff
right.
aura and stuff like that. And then another thing too that's nice about them is while they're in the aura range, they're actually tougher than the boats, which people don't realize because of the minus one to
Often,
wound.
yeah. Yep.
So, like, ultimately, I did miss them throughout the tournament. They're also really good. They were part of my like Crusher. I haven't played against Crusher, but they were part of my Crusher Stampede tech because you can
Mhm.
use those large bases to screen such a large area with like a
Yeah,
3-man unit or a 2-man unit. It just denies them the space. Then maybe you fall back and they roll low in their charge, and then they have to re-roll or they fail because sometimes people fail seven
right.
inch charges.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Right. So it's just a good unit. It keeps them from just like if I get turn one, I'll throw them up, block their ruin, then I can block the monsters in. So now they're stuck, and that would the goal with them when I take them is to stop people from getting on objectives or stop things from maneuvering like dreadnoughts and stuff of that nature.
Yeah,
Like
that
they're
landlock stuff.
yeah, they're definitely going back in the list. I did miss them
Yeah.
severely in that tournament.
Yeah, we talked about it, I think it was, like, game 2. You were like, "Oh, man, my bikes, I know."
I do love the bikes. I know,
Yeah,
like statistically speaking, but I don't know if that's just a Decagon stats or whatever, or like terrain type. I
right.
like them. I think my list is more well rounded with them. I don't care what the stats say. I think there's
No,
a
I
little bit
agree,
of
I think
hyperbole to it.
they're a weird unit because, like, if you look at their data sheet, it's not, like, crazy, but, like, the impact they end up having on the game when you're actually playing it is quite large.
I agree, and I think a lot of their woes are people using them as like a YOLO melee unit, and I'm not sure that they're that anymore. Unless you're Twilight, you can YOLO melee them with Twilight because you get the extra attack, and you can spend 1 CP for sixes to hit auto wound.
Right. Yeah, that
That's
becomes quite
genuinely good.
they're also terrifying in Yanari,
They
which, like
are I'll talk about that in a little bit. They are
yeah.
terrifying in Yanari for reasons. We'll go through, like, a couple more, like, where I think we can go after Light gets nerfed or Voids.
Right.
Yanari
Yeah,
is
we can
my go-to,
yeah, I think Yanari
personally.
is gonna be super interesting when,
Yeah,
but we'll
that's a
talk
huge
about
topic.
Yanari and data slate stuff after the tournament. So let's do a sprint through the event
Mhm.
real quick.
Yep,
So
sounds
talk to me
good.
about game 1.
Game 1, I played against a guy, his name's Galen. He's actually really good dude. He played a pretty
Mhm.
good game of 40K. He played Thousand Suns. I'm gonna
Uh,
butcher his list off the top of my head because I think everything Chaos kinda looks alike to me. It just
Thousand Suns
does.
is a weird one for us, I felt like. Like, I know Harlequins are, like, the kings of the meta right now, and Thousand Suns aren't, like, exactly just, like, running the show, but they're,
Yeah.
like, this really weird matchup where, like, in a teams environment, I definitely wouldn't 20-0 them. Like, I would never wanna be the hammer into them with Harlequins because it's like, "Oh, they're gonna score a bunch."
Going into a game, they do you a lot of your stuff will die, is what I discovered. So I played that game. I'm trying to remember, did I go first? I think I went first. Yeah, I think I did go first, yeah. Ultimately, so it's GW terrain, so I have nothing to shoot turn 1, so that sucks. Alright, cool. 2,000 points in my army, can't shoot.
Yay.
Um, yeah. Going into the event, I was like looking at the list the night before and everything, and I was like, man, I really don't want to play Tau round one or Thousand Suns. And then I
Right.
matched up against Thousand Suns. I did take the Laughing God's Eye on my Death Jester,
Right.
so I actually deployed him on the table for once because I was like, all right, if he moves up and everything, odds are he can't smite me turn one. But I just wanted to
Right.
have him out in case he had other little shenanigans or moved up and played aggressive. It's hard to hide all your boats on that. So he's going to get some angles and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
That proved to be clutch because I think he was killing two or three boats every turn with smites and just miscellaneous stuff like mortal wounds, doom bolt. He would use cabal points to doom bolt again, and it
Yeah,
just
and
and
getting
then
extra
like
mortals and
the
flat
extra
through smites.
mortals, yeah, they were dying fast. The only
Yep.
saving, so we played a pretty tight game. He had a big brick of Terminators that could like redeploy teleport. I
Oh,
forget
yeah.
the exact terminology.
The Umbralific Crystal, it's a relic that usually lets them do
So
that.
now I have to screen them out. Once he committed the unit, I was able to play the game though. I think ultimately he committed them too early because once he
Mhm.
did, I was able to play. Like I was like, cool,
Gotcha.
they're out, and I can cripple them now. Because
Right.
like something Harlequins actually don't like doing is screening your entire table.
It's
I
so
can't
annoying.
afford to have them in my backfield. That's
Right.
just really bad. So yeah, screening out, making sure he wasn't getting his points, and just kind of playing. I'm a pretty like reactive player, so I'm just
Yeah.
like trying to stay in the game. Kill some stuff, score my secondaries, make sure I'm not falling behind on primary. Just want to stick with scoring 8 or 12 always. Eight. I'm happy
Right.
with eights. If I can get 12, it's hard that early. He had full kite contemptors, another unit that's great versus us.
Ooh,
Like
those things hurt.
yeah, when they were great into Drukhari for a little bit, then they fell to the meta, but man,
Yep.
they were good into me. Like, yeah, they got a handful of shots, the strength 6, so it's the perfect strength. They were doing mortals in addition to like, they were
Right.
just doing a lot of work. His army was very effective at killing me.
Right.
Ultimately, I think some of his secondary choices hurt him a little bit. He took mental interrogation. The little trick I do, I try and bait a nice juicy, like, mental interrogate. Like, if you interrogate my character, I always keep a solitaire in front of my characters. If you
Right.
wanna interrogate him or my shadows here, he's
He's gonna
gunning
run
at
you
you.
down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So he interrogated me with Armin, and then I sent and killed Armin. So,
Right.
like, just throughout
Yep.
the shooting and the fusions were actually very good in that matchup. Solitaire did great, killed Armin, lowered his Cabal points. Um,
Mhm.
Voids eventually, like, they shot into a Dreadnought for, like, 3 turns. They eventually killed them. You know,
Right.
they're
They'll get
just
there
horrible.
eventually.
Yeah. So, ultimately, I think, like, it was a very good game. He killed a lot. I think he killed, like, 10 boats over the course of the
Oh,
game.
wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, like, in that matchup, I knew my troops would be more important, so I was letting him kill Void Reavers.
Right.
They were soaking my stuff, and eventually I was just able to he ran out of steam to score primary. Once Armin died and some other stuff, and then my troop master came out and everything, I just started to
Right.
kinda grind ahead because he lost all once he lost Army, he lost a lot of his psychic support.
That makes sense. Yeah, it slows down his ability to apply buffs and give auras and things like that,
Yeah,
so,
he really wasn't expecting the
snowballs.
Solitaire to YOLO up like 20 inches of his blitz. I told him before the game, but I rolled like an 8 on my blitz, and he was just, like, next to Armin. It's just like,
Yeah, he's
"Alright."
just right there.
Yeah, pop my 4 CP Wombo. It was
Yep.
I overkilled him, and he was like, "Oh, why'd you spend all that command points?" Because I did not wanna fail. It's a one-way trip. You spend the CP, I want the 99% chance to kill Armin. It's
Yeah, I
worth
don't even wanna
50-50 for
think
me.
about it. I wanna spend the CP and be like, "He's dead."
Right, and it was big because he's worth a lot of Cabal points too, and they were
Yes.
hurting with the
Oh, he
double
by
doom bolts.
himself.
Mhm. So,
Yep.
yeah, ultimately, I was doing my R&D, I was doing I believe it was Stranglehold and Deadly Performance. So I ended up scoring pretty good. I lost a lot of my army. He lost most of his army by the end of it. Great game, good dude,
Makes
had a
sense.
great time.
Cool.
Then you want to talk about your round one? Or you want me to keep going through my?
Yeah, sure. I can. My games were very fast for the most part,
Mhm.
so I can run through it pretty quick.
Sure.
My round one, I played against a gentleman named Sonny. He was a super great guy. He was playing orcs, and he had like a really like eclectic build of just like it was like a Brad Chester Noah's Ark build. He had like two of everybody. He had
I
like
love builds like that, man.
some beater units, some shooting units. Like he had Gaz, so he got like the double wah.
That's
It was a
awesome.
cool list. He went first and just ran at me, and his whole army was in the midfield. And I was
Oh
like, that
no,
was a
that's
little
not
too
a good.
aggressive, sir.
That's not the right move.
Yeah.
Orcs are tough, but they're not like.
Not
They're
that
not
tight.
they're not that tough. They're like you're T5. Like it's the wrong
Yeah.
toughness. You're in the wrong toughness meta.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
just
man.
slightly off. There's an orc list where you can do that. Like if you take like battle wagons where you're
Yes.
T8 and now your
Right.
ramshackle and our shuriken cannons do basically nothing to them. And like they're
Yeah.
all transports, they get in the middle. By the time we kill the transports, we're not really killing the dudes inside. Like
Right.
that's like a legitimate loss condition for a Harlequin list. Like
It
if they
is,
just jam into the middle, the next turn
especially
they
if
get
they
out
don't
with
have the
fancy
fusion.
charge. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
If you have no fusion, you're screwed if that happens.
No. I think the aggro orc lists actually have a little bit of play into Harlequins, especially because people are skimping on the fusion. I think if they included the fusion, they could you would win pretty well. But
Yeah, you should be
like
okay.
shuriken cannons with -1 damage are just an awful gun into
It's
that
rough. It's a rough
specifically.
spot, and a lot of that stuff can be if they take the buggy heavy stuff, it can be -1 to hit, which is, like,
Mhm.
very impactful into Harlequins.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
so, yeah. So, he was basically just too aggressive, and he got
Yeah.
very violently hit a whole bunch for it. I did get to experience my first solitaire bounce just on the first game of the tournament. My solitaire ran in there with 4 CP in him and didn't kill a weird boy.
Really?
Uh,
Wow,
he
that's
he
impressive.
killed well, I got a little greedy because I was like, "Oh, I got this, easy." So I put 7 attacks into the weird boy and 3 into an orc squad that had 1 guy left, and I was like,
Mm.
"I'll kill them both. It'll be fine." Because I'm used to Draz where you can split and
No.
everything will be okay.
No, not with no
And
rerolls unless you have luck dice. It's just
I only had like 2, and I rolled
yeah,
like 4 ones to hit and then like
yeah.
4 ones to wound, and I was like, "Oh, you idiot!"
One-way trip. Bye, solitaire. Did you kill the orc at least, though?
The one guy died, yeah, but the weird boy did not die, and then he
Yeah, because the
smited
rare
me.
boy's 4 wounds?
The weird boy has 4 wounds, yeah, or
Yeah,
5.
you didn't even need to do the 3 wombo then, or the full wombo, because you still need 2 to go through.
Yeah, I think he might be 5. I don't
Oh,
remember.
if he's
Whatever the
5, then
amount
it's worth it.
was. Yeah,
Right.
and even if he doesn't, that's what I thought he had at the time, so I did it,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Alright, we got this," and then I just died. It didn't work, but it was fine. We figured it out, and we got there. So, yeah, round 2.
Round 2, I played against I believe he's on your team, Joe?
Joe,
Joe
yes,
yeah,
Joseph
Joe
Clark
played
is a good
Custodes.
friend of mine.
Yeah, good dude, great guy. We had a fun game. Played I guess, like, fairly typical Emperor's Chosen Custodes army. He had
Yeah, he's on the double
couple
wardens, which is
he
unique.
did have double wardens, which I think ultimately is a mistake. Me and him had a good talk after the game. Like, great dude. We had a fun, cool game. He had double wardens. He had a dread. I can't believe it was 1 or 2 dreadnoughts.
Oh, probably 1.
Think it yeah, I know he had a dreadnought. He had 9 bikes. Some of the bikes actually had hurricane bolters, which I actually like that tech choice. The
Yeah,
hurricane
it's super scary
bolters,
for us.
it actually did more damage than his salvo launchers did. So, like,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
I was like, "All right, cool, salvo launcher. Guess what? I'm saving my luck dice for." You're like, "Yeah, you'll hit some, you'll wound some, and then okay, one might go through or 2." But the hurricane bolters, he popped like a kata to do like 6s to hit auto wound or
Wound,
something, and then like he's wounding me on 5s. He's like, "Oh, take like this many saves." I was like, "Oh, you killed a boat. Crap." With a
yeah, the
hurricane
boat's
bolter.
just dead.
Right.
Ah.
And then another thing too is it's so good at picking up all the infantry. Like one guy on foot, like one hurricane bolter, can pick up an entire Harlequin squad pretty much.
Oh, yeah, he'll just kill the whole thing.
Mhm. And so like that was that the hurricane bolters were terrifying. He had Trajan, he had the teleporting dreadplate guy, who I actually think is awesome and people should use a little bit more. And then he had a bike captain.
Mhm.
I don't know if he had Sagittar. Maybe he had one unit of Sag.
I don't think he had Sagittarium at that event. We
I like
didn't
Sagittarium too because they keep putting fire and they pressure you to use your dice and stuff. But ultimately, yeah. So we had a Sister of Silence unit. They're actually good in the Tau too.
Yep.
Um, he did not have a banner guy, which I thought was a mistake. Um,
We talked about that right before the event, and the banner guy ended up getting cut because at the time, like, he didn't have a lot of reps into me.
oh,
And at the time, it was Tau is what he was worried about, and the banner doesn't really do much into Tau.
it only helps versus like their supporting units, like the Crisis Bodyguards and stuff. The one big unit will ignore it.
Yeah, it just slams you regardless, and it doesn't even
Yeah,
matter.
but it helps versus the other stuff. Ultimately, I think it's just kinda greedy not to take it, because it would have helped immensely, versus me in particular.
It's tough to take
I know.
4 characters in Custodes,
It is.
so,
You'd have to drop the
yeah.
plate guy probably, or a warden squad for him or something
Yeah.
like that.
We have to
Um
drop you wanna keep your assassinate count down because part of Custodi's strength, obviously, is that they can
Oh, yeah.
You get like 7 on assassinate against them.
Yeah. So this time he went first, if I believe.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so like, I hung back. Salvo launchers are pretty short range. So I felt pretty comfortable. I used
Right,
Phantasm because I always deploy a couple units on the line in case I go aggressive. I put one back into strategic reserve, my 5-man naked squad.
right,
I
to
took
build them
R and
out.
D. I took deadly performance per use, and I believe I did not take stranglehold this game because it's sometimes you get into a weird situation versus custodes where
It's
like
totally a thing.
sometimes it's really hard to dislodge them from an objective. So I took engage on all fronts this game, and
That makes
ultimately
sense.
that was the I think that was the right call because I didn't want to. I couldn't commit to the middle early with Trajan. Trajan kind of just sat in the middle of wardens behind the
Dude, he's such a bad man.
yeah, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll just exist in these corners. And he made a small mistake of committing all of his bikes on the same turn, and now
Uh,
I started to bait him out. Like I shot a void here, and I split my fire, and then he had to start like making hard choices on which buffs to do. And
right.
as Emperor's Chosen, you really only can buff 1 or 2 units. Like you have the no rerolls, which doesn't really do anything versus us in particular.
Yeah,
And
that's very little.
Transhuman's the good one because it shuts down fusions and stuff. So like I
Right.
was baiting it out with voids, and then I was fusing in a different squad, and then the third squad was unprotected. So I killed like 7 bikes in one turn. It's a big deal. You
Yeah,
know,
that's too many bikes.
that's way too well. Yeah, fusions were good. They're hitting on threes, wounding on threes because I'm not shooting the transhuman squad because
Yep,
he pushed them all together so I could pick 2 squads to shoot my fusion. So whichever one you pop transhuman, I'll shoot the other one. And then I was
right.
able to pick them up like that. And once I killed his speed, I was able to take over the game essentially
Yeah,
because so me personally, I think Emperor's Chosen is an easy matchup for Harlequins. I found Aquila Shield and Shadow Keepers can be difficult. Um, So, like, just specifically into Harlequins or Tau. I
right.
know, like, mortal wounds are scary and stuff, but we had a good game. By, like, turn 3, I started to pull ahead because once the bikes were dead, I was able to just pick off all of his little supporting units. He's custode, so he can't screen. So
Yep,
I brought my 5-man troops in. They were able to do the R&D. Then they charged onto his objective, home field next turn, and killed the Sisters of Silence. Then I
yep.
had this home field. He's in the middle. And I'm existing on these 2 corners, and I feel pretty good. Like,
Right.
where are
Because
you
he's
going to
just
go?
got the middle.
Right. Wherever you go, I'm just going to shift.
Yeah, I
If
just
you
get
go
out of there.
here, I'm just going to go
That's all
here.
yours.
Right. That's how you ultimately have to approach that game. Like if you just brick into them, you probably lose.
You just die.
hmm
Yeah.
So like, especially if they're playing a little bit more cagey with their bison only like really bringing out the transhuman
One at
unit,
a
they're so
time.
hard to kill. Right.
Yeah.
And you can't like on GW terrain. There's no. It was so hard to get firing lanes on all these custodes because there's so much obscuring and the ruins and the bodyguard. I was like,
Right.
I need him to commit. So the only thing that was nice for me is that I played the passive game better with Deadly Engage. So I was scoring all my points, and
Right.
he
You were
needed
always
to.
going to be scoring.
I
What
was
this is
always
anything to
scoring,
stop you.
so it was putting pressure on him to come out,
Right.
and that's something that you need to apply to every army. Um, just like unless you're like an ultra to your face aggro army, you need to do something to force your. When we go to game 3, you need to do something to force them to do something to you. You know what I mean? Or
Yep.
like, what are you doing? You're losing.
Yeah, you're just gonna stand there and slowly
You're
lose.
you're
Yeah.
just gonna stand there and slowly lose. So Joe, phenomenal dude. I would play him. Actually, I'd play anyone I played at the event. Like I'd be happy to play them any day of the
Again.
week.
Yep.
hmm And Joe
Cool.
was good. We talked about his list a lot. I think not having the banner was a mistake
Yeah.
ultimately because 16% less shuriken cannons in the face is a big deal.
Yeah, getting shot less is good.
Yeah, ultimately it is just good.
Yep. Cool. So in my round 2, I played a gentleman named Steven Horowitz. He was very nice, but he had played his buddy playing light, I think like a couple days prior or like recently enough that it was still fresh.
Ah,
Uh
he had the
and he was
secret
playing
knowledge.
POW.
Okay.
So he was very not pleased about what clowns are capable of doing to his army
Right.
after they had, ostensibly a brief stint of being just
Yeah.
absolute smash on everybody.
They had a brief stint of immortality, essentially. Like, they could lose to Custodes, but
Right.
essentially it was the Custodes weathering their onslaught for 3 turns until Motkov fell away, and then they could play a game.
And then usually they were just dead by then.
Mostly dead, but they would win on points. Because
Yeah.
Tau can't, like, exist where they are, so you would just
No.
sit in the middle, score, die.
Yeah.
Then you keep
Rinse,
repeating it to
repeat.
your table, but win on
Right.
points, which is good, that's tactical.
Right. That's how you do it.
Mhm.
So Steven was playing Borkan. He had a whole bunch of broadsides that I learned how annoying are to kill, but thankfully
Oh, they're tough.
yeah, they're definitely tough, but we were
They
playing
are
as I
tough.
mean, you played as well on this mission, but we played the sweep and clear, so we were in the corners.
Mhm,
And I went first, so I was able to go all the way to the side and all
mhm.
the way to the other corner, and he couldn't
Uh,
ever interact with me because I was just
right.
fire and shooting,
Yeah.
like in and out of the ruin and stuff. So I was shooting him without response, shooting him without response. He took decisive action and the late game secondary,
Mhm.
and he took Kayun instead of Monka.
That's
So
not necessarily a mistake. I actually
no,
do like that.
that would be good, but he didn't hide.
That's
He had
that's the problem. That's where I was gonna bring it up with.
Yeah, he played very aggressively. Basically, halfway through the game, he was just like, "We're gonna go for it," and I was like, "Okay." And he went for it, and then the next turn he lost 12 crisis and like
Yeah.
3 broadsides, and that was
Was
kind of the end
he
of it.
what sept was he? Was he Tau
Or,
sept or
or can,
Oh, he was Borkon, okay. Well, he had
yeah,
that going for him. I actually think that Tau can be a very good matchup in the Harlequins, like, what's his name? Tommy Ogden. He
yeah.
beat John Lennon at, Adepticon for
He
3rd place?
he didn't. John lost in the mirror at
Okay.
Adepticon, but
But wasn't
he,
there a play round for 3rd place? I don't know how Adepticon works, I've never been to it.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because I know he
Um,
came in 3rd ultimately, which is a great showing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. He is very good,
he had a
and there's
very
definitely, like, paths to victory there.
Mhm.
It's just rough right now because
It is.
the Harlequins are so good at shutting down a lot of what makes them good.
Right. I
Um,
actually do think the broadsides are a right choice. You just gotta put put them in cover. Once they get to the one up, it's so hard to dislodge them. Like, you're just ignoring all the shuriken cannons pretty much. You're like, "Alright, cool,
yeah,
2 ups."
exactly.
Boom, I passed 30 in a row. And you're like, "Oh,
Alright.
you know,
Yeah,
yeah, what? Alright, what am I gonna do about that?"
yeah.
The rail guns are
So,
pretty good. You fail a save, it hurts.
yeah, once you fail a save against those guns, it's like, "Oh."
Yeah, it's
Can't
terrifying.
really
And
do a
smart
whole
missiles
lot.
are good. They have the longer range, so you can
Yep.
actually constantly pepper and string 5, so you're wounding on 4s. Just constant whittling damage.
Yeah,
So I think
exactly, you just
ultimately
get
they
shot.
are right. I like Borcon broadsides a lot. It's like I think SMS is range 30 base, so it goes to 34, 28 with mirror architect factored in. That's pretty good. That's
Well,
still
they
shooting
also
across the gap.
reduce your strength of your shuriken cannons, which is very annoying.
Yes, I did it. Yeah. So that between that, it's huge. So
Yeah, you're getting a lot less through.
right.
So yeah, that was that. That was actually my most dominant win, I think, in
Really?
the event. Yeah, I won
Hmm.
97-18.
Do you think that's because he
Um,
just played so aggressive, even though he committed to a passive strategy?
yeah, he kind of took defensive like secondaries, and then played
Right.
aggressively, and then didn't make it. Um, he
So
just didn't
going
want to
over
play that matchup, I
right.
don't think.
Yeah, I think ultimately with like that, like what would you have done if he played passive for the turn 3 and waited for his Kalyon to kick in? Because each point of Kalyon, so like a
Is
little math on
brutal.
it, is brutal, especially if
Yeah.
you're on a GW table where you can actually hide for 3 turns.
I was slowly setting up a like melee go.
Mhm.
So like if he had waited probably on turn 3 is when I would have hit him.
Right.
Because I
Yeah.
had set up all the voids, so the voids were shooting him, for 2 CP, but essentially for free
Right.
every turn because I was yo-yoing in and out. So one of his broadside units would have been dead by that point.
Mm.
And then eventually he was going to get just like both troop masters and the solitaire all at the same time.
Right.
And then over top of that would have been like all the stuff in the boats shooting as well.
Yeah.
Because I was essentially in the mid board on turn 1,
Yeah.
and then
Good
he
fans.
couldn't really react to that super effectively, and then by the next, 2 or so turns, I would have been in him.
Okay.
But he would have had a lot more assets than what he ended up with, which was
Yeah.
even on the turn he committed, I didn't have anything exposed yet because I wasn't set to go yet.
Right.
I was preparing. So he didn't really get to kill that much and then kind of died in response.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was that one. So on to round 3. Who did you play in round 3?
I played Kurt Klaus. I actually had a
Oh boy.
phenomenal I know, I had a great time. Me and Kurt, great dude. Met him a couple times, I think at Nova.
Mhm.
It was craft rolled Eldar into Harlequin.
Yeah, he's been around the block a few times.
Yeah, we had an awesome game, dude. That was probably it was such a tactical tick for tack game. I ended up getting a very low scoring win because we literally just kind of avoided each other and did like little micro tactics the entire game. I had
Right.
second turn, so I knew that my bottom of 5 or bottom of turn scoring would get me a 12 probably because Crefeld Eldar don't. And same thing with me because he could take me off any objective if he has bottom of turn. I could take him off any objective with bottom of turn because he can will Visurion or he can throw a Phoenix Lord or something of that
Or just
nature.
any
So
of your guys' individual assets wipe the other's individual
right,
assets very
pretty
efficiently.
pretty efficiently, right? Um, so he had like two Night Spinners, a full unit of D cannon guys, Eldrad, spiders, Rangers, some Warwalkers. They're actually pretty decent at living, surprisingly.
Yep.
Some Swooping Hawks, a Guardian squad. Pretty well rounded, like good utility Eldar list. So in that particular game, me going second was actually a good boon because I was able to play. I took more passive stuff. I think ultimately he took Bring It Down, which was a mistake
Right, because he was planning on killing your boats, but then it ended up
because he was
being
planning on killing
very
the boats, but I just stayed away
right.
from him. So I was putting him on the pressure. Like I actually took teleport homers that game, and I think that's a mistake in the future. Both games both games I took teleport homers. So I talked to you, and you were like, "Take teleport homers." I was like, "It's
It's
actually pretty good."
good!
It not versus Crefeld Eldar. Don't do it.
Not against no
Uh,
line of sight and not against Crusher.
no. So I tried it, and I was like, it wasn't bad. I scored some points for it. I would have
Right.
scored more with R&D because it's easier to get three. Like I came in, and he was able to forewarn my unit. I was like, all right, odds are I
Ooh,
should live.
ow.
Well, I had to because I wanted to get in his zone to score
Right,
the 4. That's a big difference. And I was like, "All right, I'm gonna make him spend CP at least, whatever. I'll take a nice spinner shooting. It's not a big." And,
yep,
you roll high shots, and then, the unit
that's
dies.
all it takes.
Yeah, I didn't pass any saves, so that I even tried to have one guy live. I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll reroll because if he lives, this is important because he could still homer," and he did
Right,
not. I still failed
didn't make
all the
it.
left rerolls. No. So, like, we played it was a corners deployment. I had Phantasm in the pocket in case he Phantasm to bring his Farseer up. So our game started pretty much immediately. Like I was like, all right, if he's going to redeploy, I will also redeploy. I'm going to redeploy no matter what if I go second anyway. So I
Right,
deployed some bait units, and I was like, all right, let's see if I can bait him to redeploy up to do an
right,
Eldritch Storm, and then I'll redeploy back so he only can storm like two
right.
things
Yep,
that I care about. Still, I mean, it's free mortals; it would still be good. I think it's
right.
definitely worth doing. Um, he was pinking down stuff, and just the shooting was pretty effective. The spinners were just constantly pretty much killing one boat a turn
Right.
and
Is
everything
it
like
2,
that.
right?
He did have 2, yeah, it was just enough to, like, threaten to kill 1 boat a turn. Our
Right.
little pop shots added up. Um, Highlight of the game was, the one Warwalker on an objective survived 3 Void Reavers shooting it. That was pretty funny.
That's wild.
Survived held the objective. I was like, "What? What is this?" I was
Yeah,
like,
that's not supposed to happen.
my plan was just to blow him off, and they're like, "Oh, cool, you're not holding that." And then I was like, "Three's
Right.
enough. Three's more than enough voids. Full voids, 6 prism cannons, 18 trigger,"
Oh,
and it lived. I was like, "Oh, I overcommitted." I actually felt bad that I was overcommitting to it, and then it
right.
lived. And I was like,
And then it
"Oh,
lived, and you were like, "Ah!"
yeah." Well, just
Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes.
sometimes you don't roll threes. Like,
That's true.
and they're T6, so they're pretty tough. I
Yeah.
didn't get any cannon wounds, and then he passed good invuls on the prisms. It happens. He had
Yeah.
strand dice or two, so he used them on the prisms. So ultimately, we played a very tick for tack game. I couldn't advance on him until he dropped his Eldritch Storm. So we just like were trading units constantly. It was sticky objectives, which we didn't realize to the end of the game. That actually
Right.
would have helped me a little bit because I kept throwing 5-man troops in the middle to score stranglehold, and then he would have had to retaliate with a unit, which would have gave me a free trade every turn instead
Right.
of him just wiping me. And then we were kind of playing a very even game. I think I
Mhm.
only won the game by like 10 points, and honestly, if he went second, he could have maybe won the
You would've
game.
just done the same thing the other
He
way,
would have
right?
did the same thing to me. I would have had to play aggressive into him and get into D cannon range and stuff of that nature and get play into an Eldritch Storm, which would have been disastrous. Another good highlight of the game is I had to keep my melee characters back. I sent the Troop Master out to do like a super spearhead, like 12-inch YOLO charge to clear an objective and contest it. That was a good play because it dropped it down to 4 for a primary for 1 turn.
That
But
guy is so fast.
I
Like,
like
you
that.
you like, you
He's
can
not
tell
as
your opponent,
I
like,
did
may
tell him.
know, but
I
you don't
know.
know till you see him do
The thing was, like, I was like, he's like, "Oh, you're like 11-inch charge." I was like, "I'm making this charge, dude. I told you, like, it's 6 plus 2d6." It's so easy.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh,
Oh. Yeah,
oh." It's like,
exactly.
"So you only need a 5." Yeah. Rerollable 5.
Yeah.
I'll take that. That's not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so he ended up taking off an objective. I had to actually keep my solitaire back all game. I wanted to spearhead him up. We talked about it post game. He's like, "Oh, why don't you just kill the decans with your solitaire?" I was like, "I need something to stop your Phoenix Lords in my line because I know I'm not going to be able to kill them reliably because you need as many phases of damage into them as possible to kill a Phoenix Lord. Because
Right.
if they come back, it can steal an objective from a boat because they're
Oh,
opset."
the whole thing's a mess. If they come
Right.
back and you don't have like that melee phase to
Hmm.
finish them, it's very bad.
Right. So I try and cast Mirror, fail. Smite. All right, one. Oh, that's helpful. Like one mortal. Ooh.
Yeah, it doesn't do it.
No. Then I shot him, did 3 wounds, and then charge. You can't trust the troops to do anything into him.
Never.
The
I don't trust
solitaire
those
had to,
troops with anything.
yeah. So like the solitaire had to finish him off, but I put the troops into the combat anyway. So if he had any res, I would still hold the objective. Then he killed all the troops, and then the
Right.
solitaire did solitaire stuff the next turn, killed them off. So
Right.
like then the next one came, and I was like, I learned my lesson. We're committing everything to this guy.
Yeah, not again.
Yeah, yeah. So it was actually a great game. I had a great time. Like I said, everyone I played was awesome. That game, Prayerful Eldar has so much play in the Harlequins. I'm actually surprised that they're not winning more into them. I know like the mixed list are, but I think like
Yes.
Mono Prayerful Eldar just has a lot of play in the Harlequins in general.
They definitely can. I mean, our creative director on the network, Colin, he super believes in craft worlds into Harlequins. He thinks he's got it solved.
I think
And
so.
in fairness, it's totally possible. Like the his particular piece of tech that I have been most scared of is he's been playing two prisms and he's playing Ulthway for all the fate dice
Oh,
nonsense. And those fire prisms will just end a boat squad if they get the shot off.
yeah. So he's
Uh,
rolling 7 dice for strands, and then he's
right.
re-rolling probably 2 or 3, probably two, because I feel like you take Eldrad and a Farseer usually. That's what I've been doing with my
I
Ultimate.
think it's something like that. Yeah. And then
So
so you have
like,
rerolls, and if you get any of them to hit, it's
right,
just like, all right,
and
that thing's dead.
that's what Kurt was doing. He was saving a lot of his hit re-rolls, which
Right.
was really smart. So he's saving hits and saves mostly, and it
Right.
was just such high value. Like he's like, all
Right.
right, these bright lances are just going to hit. I was like, okay, I guess they hit them.
Yes, they are. All
I guess
right.
so. You know. So like that's awesome with that too with the prism because especially does he run two?
Yeah, he runs
I'm
two,
assuming
so
he
you can
runs
use
the
the
duo.
strat, ignore your
So it's four
involves.
shots. He's going to make 2 or 3 auto hit, and then
Yeah.
he has one dice that maybe will hit. But each
Yeah.
one's 3d3 damage, and it wounds on twos. Worst case, you can CP reroll one, and it's a dead
Yep.
boat per.
Yeah, almost.
You know?
I mean, on average, it's a dead boat just like per
Per
successful
damage, I
move.
mean, right. So
Yeah.
it's not out of the realm of possibility to pick up a whole Void Squad with 2 Fire Prisms if you got
Right.
ample Fate dice. It's just maybe you have to spend a CP reroll to roll a 1 into a 2, like
Right. To get
you
there on the wounds or
right, but
something.
it's
But
totally worth it.
yeah. Doesn't Ulthway get a wound reroll as well?
They do, right.
So
But that would be in the case of, like, if you rolled 4 hits, like, you got lucky, rolling 2 4-ups isn't exactly the end of the world.
right.
On 4 dice, I've rolled 2 ones multiple times. So, like, you get your free
Still
reroll,
super
use your
throw.
command reroll, that unit is toast.
Yeah.
It's
You just
totally worth it to put the 4th wound on the unit. You
yeah,
don't have to
100%.
rely on
I mean,
D3
any amount of
damage.
resources at that point because they're not gonna
Right.
shoot back. Like,
Yeah,
they're
Fire
just
Fate
dead.
back, or you can battle focus if you took the upgrade.
Right,
That's
yeah.
actually really good. Colin, I like that. I
Yep.
might steal
So,
it.
yeah, there you go. That's,
I might steal
some
it from him.
cross tech.
Yeah. So, ultimately, great game.
Awesome. Oh, yeah. So, in round 3, I played, one of the other Vindicta guys, the technically my former team now because I did this is I'm Art of War man. But yes, I am. They're all my homies still. I'm still very good friends with a lot of them. So I played Joseph Dragonetti, and he is playing Crusher.
Wow. Yeah, he plays the Crusher. Yeah, I met him. Good
Yes,
dude.
sir. Yeah, he's a great guy. So he was one of the first people. Remember, like I was telling you the weekend before, like, hey, I played 3 Crusher players
Right.
and it did not go well for any of them. He was one of those people that was on the receiving end. So he was like, listen, I'm scared. I just want to score points. And he took mega defensive secondaries. He was like, I'm taking
Oh, man.
Stronghold, I'm taking Warp Ritual, and I'm taking like, I don't even remember what his last one was. I think it was Bring It Down. He
That
was just
seems
like, I'm gonna
so
stay over there. I'm gonna send you one monster a turn, and I'm not playing this game at all.
so he
And I was like,
conceived to lose pretty much?
yeah, because
Yeah.
he
He
was
knew
like,
that how you play.
I'm he's like, I'm not gonna win.
I think he's gotta go for it, though. I know, like
That's
'cause
how
that's what
I feel.
that's
But he
Crusher. Maybe you roll subpar and you hit home,
it
Like,
doesn't
that
even dude, you could just go first. I mean, we'll talk about it in your literal
Yes, you
next round,
can. Yes, you
but, like,
can. We'll talk about
some
that.
sometimes they can just go first and big
Yeah.
boy you, and it's rough.
Momentum's tough, man. It is, it is. The threat overload. It's a very valid strategy. Some people are good at it, and it just works for them. I can't do that. Like, if I'm like, "Man, I'm just gonna
Makes
push my," like, I feel sick. I get, like, nauseous. I'm like,
it makes you
pushing
nervous, get
I'm
scared.
pushing my army
Yeah.
up turn 1? This feels terrible.
Yeah,
I don't
ah!
I don't play like that. Nah, that don't work. So yeah.
That is definitely more my speed.
Right. I think ultimately, like, just to touch on that, like, so he took it like, I can't win this matchup. I'm going to score points and play like a high loss, which is good if you're going for like a 5-1
Dude
bracket where you can play into
dude,
the finals.
he ended up getting 3rd,
He did.
and
Yeah. He played real great. He had a great weekend.
he ended up getting 3rd overall, and if we were playing, like, for example, I know it wasn't a teams tournament, but if it was
Into like a top bracket or something too. Like
yeah,
sometimes for like a couple 5-1 players or whatever make it into the top bracket. So you got to play for
yeah,
a high
exactly.
loss. Um, I don't
Yeah,
know. I couldn't concede to like me personally. It's like so we'll go into round four. Like I think the way TJ approached the game is how if I was playing Crusher, it's not my style. Army is how I would do it. When you're playing,
oh, yeah. That's 100% what I would do. I swing for the fences every time.
sometimes if you're outclassed with like the Army, like you're playing the Harlequins, or you're playing to like a very top notch player like Richard Siegler or something.
Yep.
Um, I learned this after I played him at Nova. I was like, sometimes you got to do something to make them uncomfortable.
Yeah,
So he just shoved his entire army at me turn one. I was like, oh, all right, that because
yeah.
he rolled first. We got all of his buffs up, and I was like, I got to answer this. I can't like move into
I
him.
can't just stand here.
I can't just play. I can't play my game because he put me on a clock. Because I like to play very tick for tack, passive, reactive, and
Right.
like now he put me in an all in. Like, yo, you gotta. You don't kill everything, I'll on you, and it's gonna really hit hard and hit home.
So many people die if he gets
Right.
close.
Ultimately, like, I shot all my stuff into I killed one, I did some wounds to another one. He
That
did
was
good
of
on
the
his
scythe tire duels, right? Like the big
he had a
T8
T8
ones?
guys, I don't know what their name is. All the bugs
Yeah.
look alike to me except for high tires, and the screamer killers with the cool, like, "Rawr."
Yeah.
But, ultimately, yeah, he just put I couldn't kill them, and they hit home. They were all my objectives, so, like, the big weak one of the big weaknesses to Harlequins that I think people aren't exploiting enough is that, like, you hold objectives with tanks. So what people would do into Drukhari, like my buddy Sasha, is, "Cool, you're on a tank. I don't care. Here's a Marine.
Yep.
This is my
1 Marine
objective now.
squad.
This is 1
My
Marine.
objective.
I just
Yep.
outpushed him on your objective." And the Crusher Stampede can do that very effectively. You can use it with the Heartbeat. You can put one monster. One
Yep.
monster will like invalidate your entire army of objective minus objective secured stuff, pretty
Yep.
much.
And even then,
Like
they can be OBSEC. So you're just like,
they
"Alright."
can right. So then even if you obsec it, he can be obsec and be more.
Yeah.
So if they get on your objectives, you start losing. You have to table them to get into the game, essentially. Um,
Right.
Like he played a really good game. We had a fun time. I've known TJ a long time. We were former Beast Coast teammates.
Right.
Good game. I just couldn't get through his monsters fast enough for it to matter, honestly. And then the Hive Tyrant eventually came out, and he just kills everything with the ignore invulns and like.
Yeah, that guy just destroys things. The ignore invulns is too much for
Had
us.
I killed two of his stuff turn one, I think I would have been in the game and could have
Right.
won. But one is not enough. And another thing too is if you go first in this matchup, now I get a free round of shooting before he's even like halfway on me. 2 rounds of shooting would have been enough to win. But with
Right.
Crusher, if you go first and you can go, sometimes you can win games just based off pure momentum and stat checking people. Like
Right.
it is what it is, and it's not like I know it doesn't seem like the most tactical thing, but sometimes it's the best tactical move. All right, cool. Putting you on a clock.
Yeah. The big thing too with Crusher is they can just murder your primary for 3 turns, and even if you do table them, it's not enough.
That's what he did. Yeah, like I was killing the monsters, but ultimately I was running out of stuff too. And like
Right.
his primary is just way I could never catch it. So we ended up calling it. And then I was just like, all right,
Yep.
there's really no point to continue. I can't catch up by any
Right. There's no
means
world
imaginable.
where you catch up, and it
No.
just is what it is.
And he
Right.
just played a great game. And I had a fun time.
Cool. So
Yeah.
in my round 4, I played Nolan, who is, if I'm not mistaken, from the, like, Philly area. You know him,
He's
right?
yeah, I met him a couple of times.
Cool.
He ran the Sky Reaver bikes, right?
Yeah, he was playing a bunch of Skyweavers. So we played on the same Dawn mission, obviously, in that round.
Mhm.
Um, and I went first, which normally is a bit of a detriment in that matchup.
Yeah, I don't like going first in the mirror. I don't like it.
But I was like, I'm gonna phantasm. Are you gonna phantasm? And he was like, no. And I was
Mm.
like, all right.
You gotta phantasm Nolan there. If you're listening, if you go
Yeah.
second, always phantasm.
Yeah.
Go in your corner.
Yeah. Just get out
Go
of there.
hide in the corner. Put your bait and
Um,
then take it away.
and then he didn't phantasm.
Oh,
So
that's rough.
I redeployed my troop master up so he could turn one charger unit of bikes.
Killed the bikes.
Um, and then I redeployed my one of my Void Weaver units and my Death Jester's boat to a side where I had pre-measured out that I could get an angle to his Void Weaver unit.
Mm.
So and one of his other bike units. So turn one, I killed 8 bikes and 3 voids.
Oh, that's pretty rough.
It was rough.
That's pretty
And
rough.
then it was just like the troop master with the rose just ran in and was like
Yeah,
6 hits,
he's great
you
in that
know.
mirror.
I mean, yeah, it was well, he definitely hot rolled his wounds, which helped, but it was like
Yeah, but you
all
get the
5s and
rerolls
6s
at
to wound
least, right?
with the
You
reroll.
Yeah, rerollable 5 sometimes can be pretty spiky. It is
Oh,
what it
yeah.
is. I played
Yeah, he just ignored, like, all the invulns.
Yeah,
So that just, like, flat like the fight squad, and then
right.
killing the void squad and shooting. I set up my Feel No Pain aura, so I was pretty ready for him to come in.
Yeah, but there's not much he could do after they lost so much momentum, losing 8 bikes. Each That's like losing 7 or no, it's like losing 7 tanks turn 1.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of stuff just gone
Right.
at that point. And then he lost 8 bikes, and then he lost 3 voids
That's what I mean,
additionally.
right. Between
Yeah.
both, it's like losing 8 tanks. Because
Yep.
I would say 2 Sky Reavers is about a tank,
Yeah,
roughly.
something like that.
So, like, yeah, he probably lost like 7 of his 12 or 14. It's just
Yeah.
hard to come back with that. Even if he hits you back hard, maybe he only kills 4 or 5, which would still be
It
like him punching up.
yeah.
Then you kill the rest of his stuff.
Yeah, his solitaire went into my solitaire, so I fought on death and killed him.
Yeah.
So we were just, like, even on solitaires at that
Oh,
point.
that's rough.
Yeah, it was
Um,
a rough go. So I went first and basically was able to inflict crippling damage and then kind
mhm,
of build the score from there.
yeah,
The troop master with the sword and the fang is really good in the mirror.
yeah.
Because he's just like take 6 saves.
He just this auto hits everything, right, and he's very good at not as much into the tanks because he still wounds them on, 4s,
It would
but,
be
like, into
fours. Yeah.
yeah, but into everything else, he just hits, like bikes or,
Yeah.
like, generic Harlequins that are -1 to hit, just, like, hits, wounds, everything, it's just
Yep.
very
Just
good.
here you go. Take those
Mhm.
saves, take a bunch of damage. So he
Yeah,
was great there.
I could
Um,
imagine. I actually find that, like, the key to that matchup, like, I actually played that because I knew there were gonna be other hardcore players there, so I was, like,
right.
brainstorming and running it on my table. I find whoever solitaire hits voids first is at a huge advantage. Whoever solitaire hits home first, you gotta
Right.
hit voids. That's such a
Yeah.
big swing. You're trading a 100-point model for 270 points of voids. It's
Yep.
worth it every time. That's the home run. You gotta go for that. And,
Yeah. If
like
you can hit that, that usually is just like, and the game's over.
right.
um,
You gotta eye that up every turn. Like,
yep.
that's what I was, like, spitballing. Like, "Alright, I'll just hide my stuff, and if they commit, I'll throw a solitaire at their voids." Because a lot of times everyone clumps all their voids together, so even if they use the light strat, I'll just hit the different unit.
Yeah, you just hit the other
Mhm.
one. Yep,
And another
exactly.
strategy I was thinking about is just ignoring the voids completely, just killing all your mission troops, and just playing the mission game.
Right. Yep, either or works. I
Mhm.
found it's weird, the Harlequin mirror, a lot of people often reduce to, like, who rolls more fours, but
I don't think it's that at all.
it really, really is, like, who uses their combat characters better.
Combat characters and little things like who's OPSEC, you could put troops to stop units from shooting and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Only one tank can fall back. Only one tank unit rather can fall back and shoot. So you got to
Right.
use your troops to really like go in there, touch his tanks. All right, cool. He'll shoot your troops dead, but he scored
Nothing
a zero.
else.
He scored a 0 on his primary now. Cool.
Right. I was talking about it with one of my coaching clients today that if you can give your opponent 2 zeros and
Oh,
not,
it's
like, immediately get tabled,
mhm,
that's kinda it. Like, that's
yeah,
usually, like, game over.
right, yeah,
As long as you don't, like, literally lose your whole army right afterwards and then they get 2
right.
hold mores. But, like, in general, that's usually like, "Hey,
Yeah, it's hard to come
not
back from
looking
that.
good."
If they scored 8s and
Yeah,
you scored 2 zeros, you're 16 points in the hole. So unless you
at
put them
least.
on 2 zeros, you're not making up for it.
Yeah,
And if he's
exactly.
killing your resources that score, it's really hard, you know what I mean? Like, if you kill all the
Yeah,
troops, I think a lot of people get into the trap of killing voids as opposed to going for the Star Weavers and the troops. Because I think, like,
yeah.
you kill their
Yep.
mission, now they're not scoring R&D. Now, you know what I mean? Now what are they throwing away for Stranglehold?
Like
That you know
strangle awkward, right. Yeah, there's a
Mhm.
lot of things that get very uncomfortable if
Right,
you line up the right things for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Like, you'll probably get tabled by the voids, but
Right. Yeah, could do.
yeah, so
You might not. Voids can be a little
I know.
swingy sometimes.
They can be, but
Uh,
who knows?
so how was your round 5?
Round 5, I played against Alex Fennel and his AdMech. He was practicing for, I believe, a
Oh
team tour.
boy.
Yeah, I had a good time. Alex was a really, really fun dude. Like I said, met him a couple times.
Alex is fantastic.
Yeah, what a gentleman. I had a great time. We were
Yep.
talking about, like, our tenure in 40K. He's played even longer than me, which was refreshing to talk to
Alex
someone.
is old school.
Yeah, he was talking about, like, we were talking about 2nd edition Warhammer and stuff. I was like, "Oh, man, it's so
Yep.
cool." Because he was playing, like, when I was, like, a teenager. You know, he was,
Oh
like,
yeah.
playing in tournaments and stuff, so it was really cool. He ran I think it was Styges? It's like dense cover and
Yeah, he was
-1 to
playing
hit.
Styges.
Right, it's -1 to hit
Yep.
rather in cover if you're a certain distance in that. He had a bunch of the indirect tanks, rust stalkers, veteran cohort, chickens, the AdMech transports, the bird dudes, a big ranger brick. Pretty good list
Yep.
overall. I ended up going 2nd again, and we talked about it. It's just such a big advantage to go 2nd in a lot of these GW tables. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
I left it 1 unit. I phantasmed, so I left 1 unit out to try and get his models out to try and shoot them. But
Mhm.
he's like, "I'm coming out anyway, Mike, because I'm going first. I have to." And I was
Eh,
like, "You're kind of right. Maybe I shouldn't have
yeah,
left the
fair
base
enough.
unit out." But some people don't come out. So I left 1 Star Reaver out just to, like, kind of bait him out to try and shoot. Ultimately, I think if he's going to come out anyway, I played a mind game with myself. We had a good back and forth game.
Mhm.
Rustalkers killed some stuff. Ultimately, like, the no invulns on the tanks meant the fusions were ultra effective in that matchup.
Yeah, they're super good there.
Right. Once I got his troops out, Shuriken cannons were able to pick them up. The Void Reavers proved invaluable into the Ranger Brick. They came out and the
Yes.
AP3. He was ignoring AP1 and 2, but AP3 Blast, they were just able to pick up like four per unit. And essentially it just was enough that they lost that critical mass of getting like 60 shots and doing a lot of damage. The fusions
Yeah.
were MVP in that game. Solitaire almost had a whoopsie moment versus a lovely Chicken Walker unit that decided to Overwatch him.
Oh, no.
I know. I felt pretty good though. I was like, "All right, I got a 3 up. I have luck," because I had luck left too. 'Cause I bought a turn. I
Right.
was like, "All right, whatever. I got some luck." You know, he's gonna hit me on 6s. Not a big
It
deal.
should be
Whatever.
okay.
Yeah, it was only 1 too. It was 1 Chicken Walker. I was like, "Ah, he'll charge, finish him off, contest the objective." And then, like,
Yeah, it should be
he
fine.
hit with 1, he wounded. I roll a 1. I was like, "Oh no. Oh no.
This is it.
Oh no, luck." I saved the luck reroll for this, and then I rolled a 3, thankfully.
Woo.
Uh, I know. How sad would that have been? Like, oh, I just lost the solitaire to 2 shots on Overwatch.
Yeah, that's
Oh
a
my god.
ballsy play to Overwatch with a gun with 2 shots.
I know. I was like, he's not gonna Overwatch with that. It seems like he's like, I guess I gotta do it. I need to do damage. I was like, man, he's doing it.
And he's
It
like,
was,
"Ah!" He's
he just
going
did
for
it.
it.
And I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. The Rustalkers are phenomenal. They just kill whatever they touch of yours.
Very good in that
Um,
matchup for
Yeah,
sure.
once they come out though, they're very easy to remove unless they just don't have that durability. They're like T3, I think.
They're
They just died
T3,
a
yeah.
they died a lot faster than I thought they would. They
Yeah,
did,
they're only
yeah.
2 wounds. They're, like, basically the best thing in the game to shoot with shuriken cannons.
Yeah, they were pretty easy to kill with whatever shuriken cannons I had left. Ultimately, like, because I had first turn and he had to commit so much, the
Right,
fusions just kept picking up his tanks. So like he had to sit on objectives and do stuff. I just flap some fusions, pop a transport or pop a
right.
indirect
Transport
tank.
dies, no
Right,
line of sight tank dies, like,
right.
it's rough to kinda climb back into it
Yeah.
from there.
The indirect was doing amazing. He killed a bunch of voids. I think he killed like 5 or so with just like indirect and miscellaneous shooting. They had a lot of shots.
Painfully efficient.
Yeah. I said that we talked about it later, and like if he shot the Star Weavers and killed all 5 and then indirected them with the other ones, would have been a
Right.
much tighter game because he had 3 of the indirect tanks, and that's like
Yep.
they just pick stuff up. He was rolling pretty good on the shot totals and everything.
Right. Yeah, it's all it really takes.
Right. Ultimately, it was a great game. I ended up because of the fusions pulling ahead and then starting to get the mission play and everything. So
Right.
once the
Cool.
rust off was out of the equation, because they kind of pinned me in my corner. Once they're in
Mhm.
the tank and they advance, they have the Doctorina to get the extra charge. I can't really commit my whole. I'm pretty sure they. I'm pretty sure they pick up everything they charge almost. Like
Yeah.
if he charged 3 tanks, I'm pretty sure 3 die.
Yeah. Yep.
So
That's
I
pretty
just
good
couldn't.
odds.
Yeah, so it kept me back. Second turn was big. Just played a very passive game. When he came out, I reacted. That's typically how I like to play. So
Right, yeah, you
but
got
no,
exactly what you wanted. Enough
yeah,
terrain to
that's
hide, go in
rough terrain to
second.
hide. Go in second.
Perfect.
Play a nice, slow, boring Eldar game,
Yep,
just
just
like I
whoop,
like.
whoop.
Pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah. That's exactly how I like. What did
Um,
who did you play in Real 5? I
so
think
in
you
round 5, I played Derek, Apshay,
Oh,
as
yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's pronounced. He
He's,
is clean, son. That
yeah.
man is real precise with how he, like, measures and
Yes, Derek is a
moves,
good
and
dude. I've known Derek a long time. We used to play
yeah.
like War Machine together, actually,
Yeah, that's
and
what he said. He used to play
yeah,
War Machine a ton.
yeah, and he was very
Um
good. He's a very good player.
Yeah, he was really high level.
Hmm.
He was his like finishing placing at the tournament does not reflect how well he plays.
He
Um,
plays stellar because he went
yeah,
3-2, right? He got paired
yeah,
up to
he
you, if
got
I
paired
recall
up
correctly.
into me in the last round.
Yeah,
Um,
he could have been like a third place if he didn't pair into you because
yeah,
getting
I mean
paired up like that
he
is hard.
every bit of deserved to be the pair up. Like,
Right, he did. He's a very good
uh,
player.
yeah, he was super high level. He was playing a unique form of Grey Knights. I don't really see that like Blades to Victory too much, and I like them a whole bunch. He went first into me.
I'm not even sure what they do.
They have a pregame move,
That's actually
which
pretty
is
good.
very scary.
I can
um,
understand that. 'Cause I've seen people do that with Custodes, like the big bike unit, so I imagine it's a similar effect.
yeah, he like redeployed and then pregame moved. It was like,
Mhm.
oh shit, you're right there. That's
Yeah.
way too close.
Yeah, that's
Um,
scary. I don't like things like on me turn 1 like that. No.
no, I didn't like it at all. There was like a whole
No.
bunch of stuff in my face turn on. So basically, what happened was
He made you uncomfortable.
he made me uncomfortable, which is really difficult to do in the aggro game. That's
I
like
know.
my home.
I like
Um,
that, though. Good
so
job
yeah,
there.
yeah, good job, Derek. He put me on the back foot, which is not a place I usually live in. So I was like, all right, focus. He came in, he killed like a void with some shooting, got a bunch of stuff to me. He did kill my solitaire turn one,
Did he
which,
really?
yeah, which was unfortunate.
How'd he do that? Like, mortal wound spells or
No, he just pregame moved, and I was like, okay, I think I'm good. Like after his
Mhm.
redeploy, and like the way it worked out, like I just was like, he like pregame moved and then moved 12 with the
Yeah.
interceptors. And then he got
Oh.
basically around the wall
Oh,
block
that's
that I
amazing.
thought I was good with.
Oh.
And yeah, he just charged me. And I was like, all
Oh,
right,
man.
Prince of
Yeah.
Sins,
Yeah,
maybe.
I guess the tank being there doesn't help him at all. You're like, "I have character for no, not from this."
Yeah, he
That's
just beat me
amazing.
to death.
That's
Um,
amazing.
so I fought on death and like killed, I put a dent in the interceptor squad.
Right.
Um, and then like he had tagged some boats. And like, going into turn two or bottom of one, I send my troop master out and like a unit of troops to go hit a dread knight, but he like
Mhm.
bosses some saves against the fusions. I hit him in melee. I don't kill him with the troop master. And like on the other side of the board, like everything, like this is just like one isolated corner where he has one dread
Right.
knight. So I'm like, oh, the troop master and the troops should be enough to kind of deal with that. I was wrong. Wasn't. Because I didn't kill the dread knight and then he interrupted and murdered like most of the troops. There was one left.
Oh, man.
Um, so that was not great. And I was able to kill like his Dread Knight and his other stuff. So now turn two, he's like deep striking in, like other
Mhm.
stuff's coming in. I'm still just in my corner. I have not left my corner. I got Stranglehold because it was the mission where you can get it off the triangle, but I'm just like
Ah,
in a
right.
wall, like scared, like getting hit in the
Yeah.
head.
To touch on it,
Um
it's the mission where, like, you have the 2 on the 4 corners and it's the 4 down the middle. That was the
So
last
yeah,
mission,
yeah,
right?
exactly. It's the 4 down the center and the 2
Mhm.
like what was old Vital Intelligence.
Right.
So I run like my naked troop squad onto an objective. I still get my stranglehold. We're still scoring. Like everything's okay. I killed 2 units in shooting. We got deadly performance.
Yeah,
Should be
good.
cool. Everything's fine. We put the
Please don't put
points
sweating.
put the points on the board. Everything's okay. I'm
Yeah.
sweating, but it's fine. And he's like putting his deep strike unit down. He's like, "Oh yeah, game probably ends like after this turn." I'm like, "Which way do you think this game ends after this turn?" He's like, "Oh, you just table me. It's not even a thing." And I'm like, "No." So you can see like him go from being like, "I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead," to like, "What?" Like, hold
What? I have
on.
a chance? I have
Yeah.
a
And I
chance?
was like, "Yeah, you're very in this still."
Yeah.
So he comes in and like same thing, just like Dread Knight deep strikes. One dude shunts, like gets out of dodge, casts gate, like gets his spells off, like things are in different places. I get shot again. Most of a void squad dies. Star unit, like, Star Weaver goes down, Star Weaver goes down, lose some of a troop squad. And I'm like, all right,
Yeah, it doesn't feel good.
this is it. Like,
Right.
we get one more go. And if we don't clear most of this,
Yeah, it's bad.
uh-oh.
Right.
My troop master died, like my Rose troop master died, because he like fell out of combat, or he didn't fall out, he gated out and then shot me and then like did everything.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good yeah, I love when people
Because
do
if he
that
had
trick.
fallen out, I had bracketed his movement, so I could have just chased him and stayed with him and it would have been
Right.
okay.
Mhm.
But that's not what happened.
Yeah.
So um basically, yeah, so like that happens, this happens. He had a Calidus assassin, which was super good tech.
That is good tech into a lot of matches because it makes the
Well,
CP cost more.
yeah, it was brutal.
Mhm.
Like I would
Yeah.
like go to
Yeah.
Fire and Fade, he's like, that's three. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
It's actually really
three.
good. Yeah, if I recall correctly, because I haven't played against one in a while, it's turn 1, it's a 4 ups and extra CP, then you just strat to do it for turn 2,
Yep,
correct?
exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, you can persist into turn
It's
two.
it's really good.
Well, when he's so I used to do this a lot when I was playing Yukari. I loved Vect, basically for this reason.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like I'm gonna put you all the way on the back foot, and then I'm
right.
gonna drain your CP while you're on the
Yes.
back foot. And then by the end of two, you're gonna be out of CP,
Right.
stuck in your deployment zone, hurting, looking around, like, oh boy. That's
Yeah, the
basically
other
what happened.
great thing about Vec 2 would in particular, like, it's you're saying the same thing, but, like, you can stop someone from using a stratagem because they don't wanna get infected right
Oh
away.
yeah, just the rest of the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
like, "Oh" yeah. I had a good
exactly.
conversation with Sasha about that. But man, Derek had you on the back foot, huh? That's
Derek
awesome.
had me working for it. So we're going into bottom of two. We're like, all right, we channel our energy, calm it down a little bit. Thankfully, years of martial arts training, so we can bring that back to normal. And we just we line up the shots and we do the murder make. It's like a
Yeah.
Dukari go turn. We like dudes get out of boats. Like my melee troops actually do what they're supposed to for once because they're near a troop master. So like they get a little bit of pat on the butt so they can reroll ones to wound.
Yeah, it helps.
The shooting does what it's meant to. Like everything goes pretty well. But at this point, I look around and I realize that like I'm ahead. I'm ahead by a bunch. We're probably gonna win. But I realized a list flaw at this point, which was he had a guy that when you shoot him, teleports. And
Hmm.
I have no way to kill that guy except shooting because my troop master with the rose is dead, and so is
Ah,
my solitaire. And I took assassinate. So I'm like, oh
right.
no.
That's
So
sad.
like I was killing his primary enough that like ultimately I won the game by like a pretty respectable margin. It was like 90 something to like
Right,
50. I won by like a bunch, but the score really does not reflect like the situation I was ultimately in, which was
right.
like, oh, I misallocated, something I even had redundancy built in for. I have two melee or ostensibly three melee threats on that list. But because I misallocated the tools, I just straight up like that guy took zero damage the entire game. Because I couldn't do anything. If
Right.
at any point I had shot him and he was able to shun into a position where I couldn't shoot him and then move in his turn and charge, I lose my whole backfield. And
Yes,
that
that's terrifying.
yeah, and that was never a thing that I could just let happen. So I just did zero damage to that guy. I won that game, like I said, with that like 90 to 50 margin,
Mhm.
in spite of me leaving his literal double warlord trait warlord alive just for the whole game because I was like,
Right.
yeah, can't do anything to this guy. So yeah, that was the end of the event. I went 5-0, had the most battle points, so won. Woo! Um and yeah, it was a really good time. The list is fun. Harlequins are definitely they weren't what I wanted them to be, is what I'll say.
Yeah,
Uh
I think there might be a way to fit your style because 'cause you're like a very smash mouthy kind of punch someone in the face person.
I just wanted a, like, finesse melee army. I don't even mind doing, like, the trade thing. I'm real proficient with that from Drukhari,
Mhm.
but I wanted to play a melee army, and what I
Yeah,
got was a gun line.
yeah.
Um,
Light is definitely a gunline Harlequin style. I think if you go Twilight, you can play the melee game fairly well. The extra attack actually does increase your damage output a good
yeah, a whole
margin,
bunch. Yeah.
and then you could just also do so many little micro plays of all that extra movement.
They do
Like
get just the farthest piloting
like
consolidates.
like in like games I was playing with it, like the like mess around. Like think of a Twilight Sky Reaver unit. It advances 22 inches. That's
Yep,
cool. That's really good, right? You know, it
that's
can still
far.
charge. It's probably one of the farthest charges in the game because ultimately they're reducing that. Then you
Right,
charge 2d6, so probably 7. Let's say
right.
7 with your 1 inch melee. All right, so we went about 29 inches. I pile in 5. Maybe I kill the unit. I consolidate 5. I just moved 40 inches
Yeah, just
almost, depending
woo!
on like how you had to pile in and consolidate of that nature. So, like,
And on the
wow.
upshot, before like, you're disregarding even the movement for a second, you're so much more likely to kill them
Mhm.
because you're Twilight.
Your Twilight, so you have the extra attack. You can spend 1 CP to 6's auto hit or auto wound on the
Yep.
hit roll, which actually ups your damage output substantially because
Oh, yeah, it's a
you're getting
huge
such a
deal.
you're getting such a higher volume of attacks, you're getting more 6's, and
Yep.
then they're wounding automatically, so it offsets your terrible strength on a lot of your units, like your
Yeah.
troops. It's just really good. So you have the movement, you can contest objectives that people didn't even think were theoretically possible, and you hit a lot harder due to extra attacks. You have better combat characters because each of them get an extra attack now. Outside of Light Guy, he kind of offsets the bonus because he
Yeah,
gets the
he's pretty
+1
similar.
for his Warlord trait, but they get it for their normal trait. You save
Right.
CP because you don't have to buy the double trait on the guy.
Yeah, it's not even
Realistically,
worth it. Doesn't make
you just
sense.
want foot and you want player of the Twilight.
Right. Yep.
When I do it, I go if I don't cycle, I'm going for 2 CP that turn because 3 luck rerolls is still pretty good.
Right.
But in an army like that where you're trying to go, like I'm spending 1 CP on Twilight here, this squad's doing this squad's doing I'm using
Yeah,
stratagems to
there's a
fight.
lot more going
Mhm.
on.
So it's nice to have all that extra CP over the course of the game.
Right.
It feels good. I think that could be something that Harlequins evolve into depending on the data slate.
I have the bikes. I would love if that was the best way to play them. That would make me
Yeah.
so happy.
Yeah, that would.
Um, even the I had a blast with the Drukhari Dark List that I played where I had 10 bikes. Like, that was
Yeah,
super
they're
fun.
good. They're not a
Yeah.
bad unit. It's just I think voids are a little undercosted. It's either
Yeah.
a combination of you can feel too many because they're too cheap and there's unit size 3,
Right.
or they're just too cheap. I think ultimately it's they're too cheap for what they do.
It's a bit
Um,
of both. I
it
think
probably
they
could
should
be. Maybe you reduce them to 2,
2.
and then that hurts Toothless as well, and then make them cost a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people are talking about, like, "Oh, luck is the reason Harlock" it's not luck. It's literally like, if you look at stats, people who take all the voids win exponentially more than all the Harlequin players.
Yep.
It's literally voids that are carrying because I think they're, like, probably 20 to 30 points undercosted, roughly.
I think yeah, I would like to see them go up 20, but how I would
Yeah,
love to see them do it is that the body of the void goes up 15 and the
the
prismatic
gun
goes up
goes an extra
5.
5. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Haywire is pretty bad. It would feel awful for that to cost more.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
It's like, "I don't want this gun."
Yeah, I don't even
There's
want it. Like,
even if they just made the prism cost, like, points, that'd be fine. Like, maybe you raise the base chassis by, like, 10 or 15, and
right.
then you do, like, 10 for the prism gun.
Yeah,
Okay. That seems fair. I dig that.
as long as you cut them to 2 per squad, I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I
If you're
agree.
gonna leave them as being able to be taken in 3 mans, they probably need to go up a bit more, which sucks,
Yeah,
but
because you gotta pay for their exponential of being able to take 9 of them and then use strats on them and stuff of that
well,
nature.
yeah, it's the reason that I take 2 3-mans instead of 3 2-mans, because Fire and Fade on a 3-man unit of
Right.
Void Weavers is fucking nuts.
It's just a lot better. It just is.
Yeah,
Like, imagine if you only could take 3 voids at their current cost, right? They were one-man
right.
units.
Yeah.
The win rate of this army would drop. It just
Yeah,
would.
for sure.
Because like, what are they taking? They're gonna need an extra character. It's not the characters help and they do a lot of damage.
Well, you run out of slots.
That's exactly my point. You gotta take another patrol, so,
Yeah.
like, to get more
There's, like,
stuff.
a legitimate world where if Voids get cut to just 1, you can start playing brigades, which is super weird.
That's
No?
hard. No, I
Is
don't like
it? Oh, the
yeah,
elite slot. Never mind.
because you need that like, you go, "I don't like doing double Jester." You kinda go Jester, Jester, Solitaire, but second Jester feels bad.
Second
'Cause
Jester's so bad. I
you
hate
need
that thing.
yeah, I guess you could Brigade, but it's just hard to fit.
It's
It's like
3 though, right? You would need 3.
you need 3 of everything essentially, except for troops, which you need 6. So, like,
I
just
mean,
to
I'm
do
doing this so I can get more troop slots, like, I want more
oh, I
troops.
understand.
Yeah.
I tried to do it in my head. Ultimately, I settled on battalion patrol. I was like, it's if you're
Oh,
going
that probably makes more sense because then you
if
don't
you're
have to take
gonna play
the
right,
garbage with
because
you.
I was testing a list that had 9 troops, and I liked it a lot. Like, it felt very, like, janky and fun.
Yeah, you have a lot of room to do
But
stuff.
then, like, I was like, I had a foot unit, and I was like, "Alright, well, if I play Tau, what happens? Oh, I'm gonna get
What
airburst."
dies. Yeah.
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 Ultimately, that's what shifted me to the voids, so we'll see what happens with indirect fire and Tau and
Right.
that. I think it will be viable if someone
Yeah.
wants to play Mono Quins, I think Twilight's gonna be very viable. It's very good. A
Yeah.
lot of people would kill for those roles, you
There's a
know?
lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah,
Like,
and Twilight Fang's still
also, we
awesome.
didn't I was just gonna say, we didn't even talk about the Twilight Fang, which
It's
is
it might
fantastic.
it might be the second best relic in the book. Like,
Yeah.
Rose I think Rose is 1 because you can take it on anyone, it's very versatile, it's flat 3.
Yeah,
But
that thing also
Fang
just slams. Like,
right, it's just good. And it's a
yeah.
good source of rerolls in a book that doesn't have rerolls.
There's not
But
another does.
Fang with Veiled King is aces. You're starting at turn 1, 8 attacks for
Yep.
1 character. Turn 1.
Yep.
Like, I don't know about you, but I don't throw my characters away turn 1. That dude is sitting to turn 3.
Well, that
Like,
guy
he's
specifically I found was like, even when I was running him Storied Sword, Veiled
mhm.
King was just kinda in the boat.
Yeah, he just hangs out.
In the boat.
The foot guy I'll send out early.
He comes out turn 4 anyway.
Right. He'll come
Like,
out turn 3 or 4, and he's gonna get 10, 11 attacks, and it's a
that's a
lot.
lot.
A lot for 1 character. It's essentially Drazar without the rerolls,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
And you can
Well,
always damage boost him too. That boy can be damage 3.
he can be damage 3, it's very good. He's stellar. I wanted to I haven't done it, but I wanna try, like, a triple Troop Master build where I don't give a Shadow Seer relic, where you go the Storied Sword, you do the Twilight Fang guy, and then you do the Rose, and then
Okay,
that way
yeah, you can do that.
I know the 3rd one isn't as fighty as the other 2 because you can't give him Veiled King, but he's
Yeah.
still good enough to pick on trash squads and other stuff or lesser characters.
I mean, in Twilight, like,
Right, he's still getting 7 attacks.
that guy's plenty, right? Like, he's still good. Yeah.
Right, he's still getting 7 strength 5 power sword attacks, which isn't bad by flat 2. Still
Yeah.
damage it's still pretty good. Like, it's not bad for his cost, he's a cheap melee
Yeah, he's
character.
65 points.
I think with the power sword, he's like 80 or 85.
I think he's like 70. I think they're 65 base, and the power sword's only 5.
Yeah, I thought he was more than that. I forget off the top of my head. I think he's close to 80 points, but I could be wrong.
I'm gonna look right now.
You're gonna look? Oh, man. The
Oh, they're
other
75, that's why.
alright,
You're right. He's still got it.
alright, good. Phew, thank goodness. I couldn't take being wrong. That's not
Kind
true.
of
I'm wrong all
wrong
the time.
wrong on camera.
I'm wrong all the
No.
time. It happens.
Yeah, of
And then
course. I mean,
yeah, so Twilight's good, and then another thing too, pending this FAQ, I actually think Yanari has a lot of legs.
is it Yanari time? Oh, it's Yanari time.
I think it's sleeping, dude. I think it's a sleeper army. Like
Okay.
army-wide ASF is good,
Yep.
right? We know this from the Strife era. It's good,
It
right?
makes combat armies upset
It
at
does.
minimum. Like,
Yeah, it
it's
does.
really annoying.
I get ultimately it's all fragile Eldar stuff. So that, but to me, like against a combat army, that makes it even more important to have ASF. Because like he
Right.
attacks an I attack, I get a free interrupt essentially, and
Yeah.
that's big. And then we're going to keep alternate. Every unit that he fights first will probably die.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to attack with some stuff of that nature.
And even then, not necessarily. If you play the Yanari stuff with a bunch of Skyweavers, those
Yes,
dudes are a pain in the ass to kill in melee.
they're what would be the prevalent unit I would base a Yanari list off of.
Right. Yep.
So you take like your Warp Spiders or a Solo Viper or something, or
Yeah, just
Swooping
super
Hawks,
fast.
some
Right.
cheap, fast unit that adds utility. Well, probably Warp Spiders because they actually like do something. And then you take your Skyweavers. If he kills one, suddenly they go from like this is a good unit to whoa, this is an amazing unit.
Right.
Like like that, they just kick on because they get weapon skill 2
Yep.
or +1 to hit rather, and then they get BS well, +1 to hit and shooting.
Oh,
So
yeah, I
they're
didn't even think about that. I forgot that it applies in shooting.
mhm. So now they're hitting a lot more with their shooting attacks. It's actually a very efficient shooting platform at that rate, and they're fighting very well. And Yunari spells are actually really good at boosting your
Brutal.
combat efficiency. So you can
Yeah.
get the 6 hit auto wound spell, which we already determined was a good ability,
Yep.
product strat, and +1 to wound, which offsets your strength.
It's
Strength 5 is
so
pretty
good.
good. So you can wound T4 things on twos, or you can wound T4 or T5 on threes, etc.
Right.
Right? It's just good. It's going to scale you up a whole bracket, and it's good on your troops.
Yep.
Ultimately, it's going to just come down to like, well, this breaks strands. What's going on with everything?
Yeah,
Um,
it gets very confusing
right.
in, like, the way the detachment ends
Yeah.
up getting put together.
Yeah.
Um
Can the Shadow Seer take Phantasm as he still or whatever it's called?
Oh,
Because
yeah, do you get Revenant or are you
you
Phantasm?
right now you have the option, but you can't actually cast the spells on anything
Oh, because they're not safe.
because there's a vague wording. It's a Sadeth, but your Sadeth turns to Yanari. But like per that spell lore, it doesn't say that that's an option.
That makes
Essentially.
sense. I
Hmm.
mean, the if that does convert, Fog of Dreams on,
Yes.
like, Yanari stuff,
I know. Well, no. See, I would say, like, I wouldn't want that to happen. That would feel, like, terrifying. Imagine, like, a 10-man Scorpion Squad, Fog of Dreams or something. That would be
or,
horrible.
like, the Yinkarn because she's a character,
Yeah. I think, like, if they said, like, Yannari
Harlequin
Harlequins
stuff.
would be cool.
That
I
makes
don't
sense.
know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I can dream. If they said, like, the Yannari Harlequins could have it, yeah, I would take a 10-man troop unit and just chill it behind a wall.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's 2 ways they could do it, right? There's the one where, like,
Right.
Ynnari stay, like they become pretty good where it's Ynnari Harlequins, or
Mhm.
they could become nuts, and it's just Ynnari!
Yeah, I don't want that. Oh, that'd be I would love to fog a Incarn, though.
That would be
That's my favorite model in the game.
yeah,
She is so
that's
good.
the rank 1.
That's rank 1, yeah. Model, rules, I always love that model.
She's beautiful, I've never played with or against her because of when I
It's
started,
mhm.
she was just not in play. I started playing when the Iron Hands Codex came out.
Oh, yeah, she was dead by then.
She
She
was
was
already
gone.
gone.
Yeah.
So I've just like everyone it's so funny like joining the elf community, right? Like everyone's like really into the Incarn. They're like, "Oh, she's so awesome."
She is awesome. You're missing out.
I've just never seen her do anything.
You just gotta play some Ynnari, man. Like, I
Yeah.
tried some, like, mono craft rolled Eldar Ynnari, and it's good. I don't know if it's ultimately better than, like, Ulthwé or Hail of Doom,
I
but,
really
like,
like what she
she's
does.
good.
I really like what she does where like it's like this really weird catch 22 where it's
Right.
like that's a fragile Eldar unit. I can just kill it.
That's exactly why she's
But
so
if I
good.
do,
Right.
uh
So, like, I was taking a lot of, like, solo Vipers and throw away, like, Hawks and stuff of that nature, and if
right.
you put the Viper in a precarious position, like, "Oh, cool, I'll just kill it with this Night Spinner or something," or, like, some trash unit will kill this Viper, or I'll charge it, whatever.
Yeah, no big
Um,
deal.
no big deal, but, like, every time they kill a unit, they gotta be like, "Can I handle if the Incarn was here after I kill this unit?" And
Right.
it
Like
constantly
every step.
does it matter if the Incarn's here? And then you're thinking like, "Can I put Incarn there? Does it matter if the Incarn's there? Will Incarn die if she goes there?" So it makes like a whole like 3D, 4D chess of 40K
Oh
where it's
yeah.
like you're just always thinking like, "What's gonna happen?" Like I played a game against my buddy Sam with Yannari. So I had
Mhm.
some Wraith Lords and stuff like that. He was playing Death Guard. I know Death Guard isn't like the ultra top tier army, but
Mhm.
he's had Mortarion, who's T8's pretty good in the Eldar in general.
Yeah.
And, like, he charged up, spiked a Wraith Lord, and the Incarn showed up. I was like, "It's go time."
Yeah. Surprise.
Like, you don't want Mortarion next to, like, he's like, "I guess what am I supposed to do? Not fight with Mortarion?" You know?
Yeah, I just stand there all
Right.
game, my
It's
500-point
right.
unit.
It's also gonna be good in the nids because a lot of them have the embolems and stuff. So, like, effects comes in, charges one of your units, the Incarn can show up, kill,
Right, get rid of
like
it.
pretty reliably. Any monster pretty much in that book, even if they have transhuman, you just save some of your strength dice for the wound.
Right, well, you need, strands for it, but yeah.
Yeah, to save a strands or 2 and then you'll wound 1 or 2 on your own. It's
She
just
gets
enough.
the, 6s to hit auto wound as well, right? So you might get, like, 1 or 2 from that.
The spell, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
She could I think I'm not sure if it's Yannari Core or whatever, or just Yannari, I don't know off the top of my head. Typically, you don't need it with her,
Let's find
I
out.
found. You could, and you can do the +1 to wound too if it's a non-transhuman unit,
Yes.
depending if it's,
So
like, the wrong toughness for you, like you're charging, like, something T8. that's not transhuman to wound on twos.
Each time a Yanari model makes an attack. So that would
That's
work.
all. Yes, yes. Well, then you can save hit strands too.
Exactly.
Double
Yeah,
dip.
now you're Hail of Doom and melee,
Yeah,
baby. Woo!
and she also knows all of the Inari spells, which is pretty dope.
Right.
It's all
Yeah,
6.
she just has them.
Right. So a lot of people have been talking about like, "Oh, I want Cat Lady and everything." It's like if you take Yin card, I don't think you need Cat Lady because you got all your
Yeah,
spells.
yeah. At that point, it's like, we got it. We're good.
Right. Yeah, I don't
The
need to see
Visarch
his
is cool
spells again.
though. He does a
He's not
bunch of
bad.
he's a reroll one Zora. That's so good.
He is. I find it hard to take him over an Allshark though. So
I guess
depending on
that's
how like
fair.
the auras turn out,
Yeah.
like Allsharks fight last, that's great.
Yeah, no Overwatch.
You can give him the Phoenix Gem, so if he dies, he can come back and do it again.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, he can be really good.
Yeah, that's where I would start. I would go with like Allshark, Yinkarn, probably Farseer,
That
and
makes
then
sense.
like go from there because that gives you like your reroll hit ones. That gives you a reroll of strands dice and a decent caster. They can still take the DP generation spell.
Yes, because that's in
Mhm.
the
Right.
lore they're allowed to use, right?
Yep. Yeah, they could take that and like one other spell. You could take Impair Senses or
Yeah,
Crushing
or
Orb or
Crushing
something.
Orb or something. Right.
Yeah, mostly just there for the reroll the strands dice. That's a little reliability.
I hadn't read Crushing Orb, and then someone used it on one of my boats, and I was like, "Hey,
It's actually pretty good versus some
stop
stuff,
that!"
especially with Tyranids coming out. Like, hey, this is 3 mortals on your
Yeah,
monster. That's just
woo.
good. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes a long way. For
So
sure.
where if they nerf well, we get the data slate next week or
Yes.
days from now. What are you thinking? Like, where are you going?
It depends. Depends on how they do it. So
Mhm.
if they just, like, drag Harlequins out back and just, like, put a bullet in their forehead,
Uh,
just like if they just give them the full, like, Dark Technomancers treatment, if they're just like, "Fuck you,
oh,
no
that was
more,
rough.
enough," um, then I have to have, like, a very different conversation because thus far, I mean, this is public knowledge. I've talked about this before. I was assigned the Eldari Codex, the one I was literally
Mhm.
just holding for Team USA. So if Harlequins just dies, like if they're just like, no, like troops don't have core, Shadow Seer's 20 more points, Voids are 30 more points, and you can only take one. If they just put them like in the grave,
Right.
um, I have to have a very honest conversation with Sean about having me be the Craft World player because
Right.
I don't think Craft World meshes super well with what I'm good at.
Maybe it depends. I mean, maybe you could think around a Yunari list that could be your style because that's more
Sure.
melee.
If if at the same time they, like, fix the Yanari
Right.
interactions and, like, it becomes a lot better, absolutely. What we were just talking about sounded awesome. I would play the
Right.
hell out of that.
Yeah.
But, like, the the inverse scenario is, like, they don't get that crazy with voids. Certain other things get, like, troops have core,
Mhm.
uh maybe they take bikes down points or something. Like so I'm very spoiled when it comes to nerfs. I played Drukari.
Right.
Drukari got like light tapped like 5 times.
They did until they finally hit the final
Yeah,
nail in the
yeah,
coffin,
just right in the
unfortunately.
forehead on that last one.
Yeah, they went
Um,
hard with that last one,
yeah, they decided
unfortunately.
Thick City needed to die, and that's fair. But so if they do that, if they do like the nerf buff thing, where if they like make Skyweavers better and like do that, then I would definitely try something like that light list
Right.
because I played the Fog of Dreams combo where you have like Mirror Architect and Fog of Dreams, and my Fog of Dreams bike unit is in the midfield and you just can't shoot it because
Yeah,
other
super
things are
good.
closer. That was extremely powerful.
Yeah, it's a good unit. I like it.
um, I worry a little bit. This is my own bias now because I played new Nids the other night, and I would play Nids very Carnifex heavy. And like we did the math after the game, and it takes like 80 something shuriken cannon shots to kill one Carnifex.
Does it really take that many? That's
It's if they
oh,
don't take the light cover, it's 82. If they take the light cover buff and you have no way to ignore it because you don't, it's 122. Shuriken cannon shots, not shuriken rifle shots. It's is
mm.
rough.
Yeah, that
So,
does sound tough. I think something you might be able to do, like say voids get taken out back and you don't take them anymore,
right.
you can evolve your Harlequin list, so like the bikes. If you do something like because
Right.
Carnifexes are T7, right? If I
Yeah.
recall correctly.
Yep.
If you're worried about their armor save because they have the 2 up base and they're
Yeah.
gonna have cover, stuff like Star Ball has suddenly become good.
Oh,
Fusions are
yeah, that's
good.
fair.
and then you could add in neuro disruptors.
The problem is they're also -1 damage.
It is, but at least you're wounding with them, right? Strength
Right.
7 AP3, you're actually gonna get wounds through.
That's fair.
And then with the neuro disruptors and their 12-inch range, that's free damage, right?
Right.
With and fusions too. So you could fly up fusion one, neuro the other one because it's 12 inches, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you could pick up a couple of Carnifexes between all the take 6 units in boats, 12 neuros, 13 fusion
Fusions
pistons.
and
Right.
just
That's a lot
hope
of
for the best.
firepower. If you
Yeah.
roll average, that's 7 mortal wounds a turn just from
Right.
neuros. That's almost a Carnifex on its own. Right.
Right. Yeah,
Now
that
you
helps.
don't need 80 shuriken cannon shots. Maybe you only need a couple to go through.
The
You know
problem
what I
is,
mean?
so
It's a big difference.
there's 2 synaptic imperatives that you're worried about in that
Yeah,
scenario.
I'm not ultra familiar with the new book. I know they have the
Okay.
Invuln one.
Yeah, so there's an invuln one that gives the whole army, well, it's
Right.
functionally the whole army. It's synaptic link range, but whatever. There's so everybody in it gets a 4-up invuln,
I know
essentially.
that one. Yeah.
The other one gives them +1 to cast, +1 to deny, and every unit in it gets a 5-up against mortals.
Right. But they only can have one of them active at a time.
Right, it won't be the 4-up and the 5-up.
Right. So
So
something that's nice about having those two different guns again is they're different ranges of the profile, right? Do you want the
right,
Invuln or are you going to take the Mortals?
right, and your opponent has to choose that in the start of the battle round.
Okay.
So
So that's really good because like the Mortals alone almost kill one. Between that and
right.
Smite, Mirror of Minds, you could probably almost kill not two, but you'll kill one and do some chip damage to the other one.
Yeah, exactly.
Fusion should be able to pick up one or two. I think it's manageable if you tech for it. Like even without the other stuff.
It's just very rough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's never, you have 6 Carnifex in your face. That sucks.
Yeah, it's 6 Carnifexes,
You
there's
know?
2 Hive Tyrants, there's a Harpy
Yeah,
you gotta deal with,
yeah.
like
But the Neuros are just good. It solves a lot of problems, I think, for
yeah,
high
for sure.
toughness your high toughness gap. You're able that's something like I was gonna, like, do a reflection. I
Yeah.
actually dropped the voids and added Neuros to all my units just so if I play
Yep.
Crusher, but now that's not really an issue since we have new nids. Even versus new nids, it only takes 6 vexes. I can kill one a turn with mortals with decent dice rolling. So
Yeah,
if I just
which
roll
is like
slightly above average, Diffex.
yep.
It's good. It's just really good, and I don't
Yeah, it adds
and
up in, like, a real hurry.
yeah, ultimately lights a and no one shoots your troops for any reason, like, they always go for the voids. So now they're doing it every turn,
Right.
constantly, and it's just 7 free mortals, 7
Well,
free mortals, 7 free
that was what
mortals.
I ultimately yeah, we could do like a rewrap, I guess. Yeah, that probably makes sense. Where I ended up after the tournament was that we talked about it kind of at the event when I went and actually like did the points.
Right.
Lists are live for tables and towers now, for which is the major I'm going to this weekend, so people could see this. I basically dropped Prince of Sins and then shuffled my weapons around and added all the neuros. So
Yes.
now I have 10 more neuros where I previously had 0, and I have like some slightly less melee troops, and it literally doesn't matter at all because it's like
Yeah.
I have like I lost like 2 or 3 melee weapons across the army.
Yeah, consequentially, they don't do a whole lot. It's really your strats that enable their melee. You're either
Right.
fishing for 6's own mortals, or you're ignoring it invuln, or you're doing +1 damage and just hoping you go low.
Yeah. And like even when you're ignoring invul, most of the time it's better to do that like on the solitaire
It is usually, right.
because you're not really going to do it a bunch of times in a game.
No, you're not.
If you're going to do it on a troop squad, you better be fighting like demons or something.
Demons or other Harlequins or something
Yeah,
like that.
other elves,
Mhm,
right? Where you're like, "Oh, I wounded, so you're dead now."
right. But
Um,
and the Neuro's not even bad in the mirror, it's good at picking up, like, the solitaire.
that looks great. They're
Mhm.
awesome. I'm very excited to have those.
Right, instead of, like, going after, like, a tough character or something like that, like the
Right.
solitaire or, like, a 4-up unit, you could just mortal them. Just be
Yeah,
like, "I'm gonna
100%.
mortal your troops," it's easier than shooting, like, my shuriken cannons at them, it feels like a wasted efficiency. Just, "Alright, here's a couple Neuros. Alright, your unit's dead. You can't
Yeah,
do anything about
that
it."
thing's just gone now.
Right. Kill the solitaire off. Because with a smite and a couple Neuros, he's probably just dead.
Yeah, even if just like a
Mhm.
successful mirror can just end that man's career.
It can. You're right. Yeah, that could end it on its own, but, like,
Yeah.
maybe he lives with a wound left. Now you don't even have to shoot him. Because like,
Right.
sometimes the 3-up
Yeah, just
invuln's hot.
plug a neuro in there.
Plug 2 Neuros, dead. Cool.
Yeah,
It's good. Yeah. Because I think we were talking about that, right? About the
right.
Neuros post-event. I'm
Right.
glad that you came to the same realization I did
Right.
independently, so it's good that we were, like, thinking like,
Yeah,
"Man," like,
basically on the same page.
when I looked at that gun at first glance, I was like, "I don't wanna take this. 1 mortal? Whatever." And I was
Yeah, but
like
it's not 1 mortal, it's 7 or 8 or whatever.
and right, and no one shoots your troops. They always live.
No, they're
Until
just around.
they're always around until you commit them to score, then they die. So if I'm just
Right.
flying around, I kind of want that 6 boat just so I can have like a
Yeah.
unit with 2 neuros in it, or
Mhm.
like just the guns, maybe 2 fusion, 2 neuros in case I need
Yeah.
the extra shooting. But I don't
Yeah.
know. It's hard to fit that honestly, especially if you
The
want the third melee character
yeah, the 3rd melee character is
or
where it starts to
second
get
melee
weird.
character rather, second troop master.
The 2nd troop master, right,
Yeah,
yep.
because you have the
Um,
solitaire.
yeah, because yeah, I can't imagine there was points where I was like, "Oh, I could just cut the solitaire," and then I was like, "Oh, no, if someone just stands in a room, I
No,
lose the game
don't
immediately."
do it.
Yeah, it's
No,
bad.
you can't drop the solitaire. That dude's aces. There's horror stories like, "My solitaire never kills anything." It's like, "No, you need him." Even for the
It
psychological effect alone, they gotta
right.
be like, "Can I put my character here? Am I gonna get blitzed?" And
Yeah,
he's genuinely scary.
the blitz is brutal.
Right.
You should take a Yanari solitaire. That would be
Oh my god, that would be basic.
yeah, that would be nails. I would love that.
Yeah, I'm
But
wounding on 2s.
yes.
Oh
Yes,
god.
you are dead.
That
Goodbye.
the madness. Oh my
Yeah.
god, that would be brutal.
Yeah, that'd be super fun.
I'm glad that's not a thing.
But such is the life. Yeah. I was looking
People
at some of the list for this weekend. They're
right.
interesting. There's not a ton. I mean, this is kind of like the Harlequin life. There's not a ton of people playing mono. Um,
Oh, really? Hmm.
Now there's like 3 or 4 of us.
That's not that many.
There's well for an 80 so person event. Yeah, it's not a lot at all.
They're not a popular army despite, like, win rate.
It's
It's
hard to get the pieces for them right now as well because like
uh,
boats are just like impossible to acquire.
that's true.
Um,
I've had mine forever, and I was like, "I'll just
right.
repaint them."
Yeah. Oh, easy. I'll make them look prettier.
Yeah, that was the
Nice.
goal, essentially, but
um, yeah, there was one list I think Jeremy Knox is playing. He starts with 2 CP because he took a traveling players patrol.
2 CP?
Took a traveling players patrol. He took a
He's a pretty good player, right? He was at
yeah,
in the top 16 at Nova a
yeah,
couple years.
he's like a DMV area guy.
Mhm.
So he took a traveling players patrol, he took a Ulthway spearhead, then he took an auxiliary detachment with Baharoth in it because he needed the extra
He
character
needed the
slot.
one extra character slot.
One.
Does he have Faithful Divergence in his list, I hope?
I'll look.
I pray he better, because
Starting
starting
with
at
2 is so powerful.
starting with 2 feels bad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like it.
I'm not brave enough to do that.
Obviously, he's a very good player, so he must have some sort of plan.
He's gotta have something in the pocket. Maybe he's just, like, of the opinion that, like, fate dice like, do what CP would do for him.
Yeah, I mean, to an extent. It just depends on what it does he just indirect and voids, essentially?
Pretty much, he's got 6 voids. I'll pull up the exact list right now so we can
Yeah.
have a
Yeah, and
quick chat
assuming it's,
about it.
like, it's 6 voids, probably, like, 2 spinners and support weapons, and then Baharoth to be
Yeah.
Baharoth, who's awesome.
So he's got the Shadow Seer,
Mhm.
with Mirror and Webway Dance and the Shadow Stone
Okay.
in
That's
light.
it. Right.
He's got a completely bare troop squad.
Yeah, he needs a troop.
He's
Air
got
patrol.
the strange choice, he's got the Death Jester with Favor and Harvester,
Okay.
but also Player of Light and Suit of Hidden Knives.
Oh, you give him the suit. That's actually like a, sneaky mortal wound thing, I
Oh,
believe.
okay. I was
Mhm.
like, not sure what's going on here, but alright.
Yeah, he does mortals in combat with the suit.
Okay, that's cute.
Mhm.
He's got 6 voids. Then he's got an Avatar.
Yes. Oh, that's
He's got
exciting.
Eldrad, who
I'm
has
excited.
Fateful Divergence, there it is,
There it is, you need
Fortune,
that.
and Will,
Okay.
and then he's got Champion of the Eldari for Fate Reader.
Sounds like we got some lovely OPSEC avatar in that list.
That's right. And then he's got a Skyrunner with Seer the Shifting Vector and Sunstorm,
Oh, OPSEC Blake, that's good.
and then he's got 3 Hornets with Bright Lances,
Huh, oh, I'm surprised by the Hornet pick.
2 Vipers with Bright Lances, and then a support 2 Shadow Weavers, a Warwalker with 2 Bright Lances, and Baharoth, and that's it.
Oh, no spinners.
No spinners.
Wow. Hmm, that's an interesting list, actually. I don't I mean, the Hornets are okay, but
It's
I
very
don't know.
strange. It's a really weird list.
They're really good. They're very f they actually keep up with the Voids fairly well. I think they're, like,
Right.
speed 16 or 17 base.
Oh, wow, that's fast, yeah.
They're very fast, yeah, and they, just shoot pretty well. I think they're, like they will have Bright Lance are 100 points or something.
Yeah, with bright lances, they're 100 points. Yep.
They get the invuln, they have 8 wounds each, which is nice into, like,
Oh, that's awkward.
yeah, it's a very awkward number to go into for a lot of weapons unless they're flat 2.
Right.
Um,
I mean, even then, you need to get 4 through, which is like,
right.
ugh.
Yeah, it's just a good like, and salvos, you probably need 2 salvos to kill it.
Yeah, well, you need at least 2 salvos. You would
I
need
guess you do. I didn't do the math in my head, but yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you need 2 to
the
kill it.
fusions, you can kill it with 1,
You can,
but
it's just hard.
very unlikely.
Yeah. They're pretty good. They're big. They're like a weird shape though.
No, are they? They're, like, hard to hide because 'cause they're, like, weird to move.
Mhm. I guess he's just gonna shoot people.
He seems to be planning to shoot folks.
And then have an OBSEC avatar and the OBSEC bike. I actually like those 2 choices because now he can put it on an objective so he doesn't lose it to, like, a one model OBSEC
Yeah,
steal.
to nonsense, basically. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then the other person that I thought would had, like, a fairly interesting list, well, this is interesting by dint of him doing well a couple weeks ago. Zach Point is going, who won Adepticon.
Oh, he's going there too? Wow.
Yeah, he'll be there. So he is playing 9 Void Weavers with 4 Star Weavers with in light, and then all of his he has like 1, 2, 3 troop squads that are naked, and then 3 that
Hmm,
have double fusion, double neuro.
okay.
But none, like literally 0 of his troops have melee weapons.
I guess I don't blame him. The troops melee.
They're not very good at it.
No, not in like, if they nerf the voids, I think you just go, like, shooty boats. And I think that's ultimately where, like, I keep cutting it, and I never use it. Like, I plan to use it, like, "Oh, man, really wanna use this, melee." And it
Right.
always disappoints me.
I use it to kill like the last 2 dudes. That's
Yeah,
like the only time.
right. I think something
Well,
cool would be, like, if you took a six-man squad, you could take an Embrace to do, like, 3 mortals on the charge, like a Phoenix Lord,
right. Yep. Yeah,
maybe.
stuff like that's pretty good. I was taking an embrace when I was doing in my Jakari list because I was trying to just get melee weapons in the squad.
Yeah,
Before I realized that you could just take kisses up to as many as you'd like.
yep.
So I was like, oh, I got to take 2 of each, and then I can take 1 of the other ones.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. The army's weird to build like that. But
It
yeah,
is, yeah. I think he's just basing it off his experience and, like, he probably looked at Adepticons, like, "How many times do I actually, like, charge something and do damage?"
yeah,
And
0.
he's probably, like, 1 or 2 at most, probably 0.
Right. He also only has 1 troop master.
That yeah, I don't like well, it depends on their terrain, right? I think their terrain is more like, if I remember correctly, I played there a year or 2 ago, maybe.
Table and Towers has good terrain, but it's gonna be
They
player placed for this event, so you have a lot more agency.
right, so if it's player placed and like, their terrain is good, but you can get angles on it. It's almost like WTC-esque in nature, not the
Right.
same densities, so to speak, but, like, if you can get to X point, you can see everything in the terrain.
Right. Yeah, they're ruling that the larger ruins that they have are completely blocked,
Oh, really?
and
Okay.
the smaller ones have windows.
Because the last time I played there, if, like, a tip of my raider was in, you could just blast me, and
Oh, yeah.
it was very light terrain by that
Right,
sense.
essentially it becomes not very helpful because 'cause you're like,
Yeah.
"Boop, oh, I'm
Yeah.
dead."
Had I known that, I would have played Poison Tongue because that would have been clutch.
Right,
But
because you could just bail.
mhm. Yeah, you could just
Yeah,
but that's cool.
exactly.
So what is that? That's this weekend? I know
That's
Ganyo's
this weekend.
going too, right? He's
Ganyo is
bringing
going, he's gonna be
he's
there.
bringing wacky Mechtow. I'm excited. I wanna see how that does.
Dude, that list is so hype. He's 3 Sky Rays, right? And 3
Yeah.
Hammerheads, just big gun, a Storm Surge.
Yeah, I wanna see how that does. That seems cool.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. He's definitely in it for he said he was trying to get there for hobby track points. That's like his main goal, and he just kinda
Yeah.
wants to see if it's good. Because his Tau army is supposed to be really beautiful, right? Like, he
It
has a
is,
really
yeah.
sick Tau
Mhm.
army. Yeah.
He's a very good painter. He's a very good player.
Yeah,
I
he's super
reckon
talented. I know
I
that much.
reckon he will do very well, would be my guess.
Yeah, definitely possible.
I don't know what Mechtow do. I haven't seen someone field Mechtow.
Me either.
I
It
think they shoot well, but
that's what it says in the book, but,
that's
like
for fluff. They're supposed to shoot well.
yeah,
Skyrays were people talked about Skyrays when the book came out. They're supposed to be good.
right.
I just haven't seen them on the table, unfortunately. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I haven't seen them around as much.
Yeah,
But
unfortunate.
yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, I think we're about at time. So
Mhm.
it was great talking to you. I'm glad we did
Yeah,
this. It was a good time. We got to break down the thing. We'll get to post this in all the places so that people can see what it looks
sounds
like when
good.
we actually talk as people as opposed to just typing at each other all day.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely a good thing. little person to person interaction.
Yeah, for
Always
sure.
a plus, you know.
So, yeah, thanks for
And
coming on, Mike. Do you have anything you want to plug or shout out before we get out of here?
no, not in particular. I mean, I'm not a part of any like well ICT team, Art of War. If you want coaching or anything of that nature, it's very good. Nick and the other coaches all do a stellar job, and Anthony. I said other coaches. I always think Nick because I've known Nick a long time.
That's fair.
Um,
He's one of the bosses. That's allowed.
correct. So they're great dudes. They'll help you out. They've been there, done that. They play in events. They consistently do well. You know, a lot of content on their website, battle reports, videos, just good stuff. If you're into 40K, you know, it's good to be into it, watch some content, learn a lot, have a good time, you know.
Cool.
Um, other than that, I just want to wish you luck at your tournament, you know.
Thank you,
So
sir.
yeah, it's
Appreciate
this
that.
weekend. You'll do
Yeah,
well.
it's this weekend. We're going down the Friday to like very close to there, and then we're gonna like go play the event, and then we're like staying nearby.
Okay,
So,
that's good. I
yep,
hope you do well. Try and
I
take the big. It's 6 rounds or five.
it's 5 with 80 people, so there's gonna be like 2 or 3 undefeated at the end.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so
oh
we'll do
well.
it again.
Yeah, just try and be 5-0. If you're not first, whatever. You're 5-0.
Whatever, yeah.
It's still really good.
5-0
So
is what I live for. I would rather be
yeah,
5-0
yeah.
than 4-1 with a bunch of points. Like
Right.
I wanna win
That's
all
it,
the
bud.
games that I play.
If
Yeah,
you we'll make a bet though. If you lose, you have to start playing. If you lose a game at this event, you have to start playing Craft World Eldar.
I have to
Mono.
start mono. Oh,
Yeah. Mono.
oh,
You have to do it for 3 weeks.
3 weeks. I could do
Yeah.
that. I can do
All
an
right.
event. I'll do you one better. I'll do one event as
All right.
mono.
As mono Craft World
Assuming I can
Eldar.
get the
We'll work on a
mod.
list together.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes, a
I'm gonna
Smash Mouth craft
no.
world
It's
list.
gonna be the most passive,
Ah!
the most passive, like
No!
reactive Craft World Eldar list
Ah,
possible.
you wound me, Mike. You
Oh, it'd be
wound
so
me.
fun though. Think about how cool it is to sit in a corner and like
Oh,
throw out little trash units.
oh, it hurts.
Move
It
out a
hurts
sweeping
me.
hawk unit, go back to your zone.
Yeah, just never leave my corner. Ugh,
You can
just
think of a flip side counter argument or counter bet, but that's the bet. If
if
you lose a
if
game, you have to play Craftworld Eldar.
if I go undefeated,
Oh man.
you have to play.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, what's in the what is I'll make you a super aggro list that like needs to go first.
All right, I take that. Oh
That's how
man.
we'll do it. That'll be our bet between as teammates on the ITC Art of War team.
I dig that. I'm just
That'll
gonna
be
literally put all my models on the line and go.
and just go first. And
Oh,
if you go first, you phantasm put more things on the line. That's how it
that
works.
that feels horrible. I don't want
Yeah.
to do this. Oh.
I'm gonna make you
All
regret
right.
this bet.
I accept the terms of your bet.
All right, so we're on. All righty, guys. That's it. You have the bet live. Thank you for joining us. Hope you guys enjoy the content. That's us.